Welcome, everybody, to the very first modern stream of 2024. We are in the lovely storefront of Nerd Rage Gaming here in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. It's a cold one today, but we're nice and warm inside. My name is Haviva Goodman alongside Dominic Stricker. Dom, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy January, everyone. Brought to you by George finishing a Big Mac right here live on camera.
Oh, goodness. All right, yeah. Make sure you're fueled up for today. He's also got his new Flex Slot jersey.
Yeah.
Team Flex Slot just announced, sponsored by George's website,
Yep.
flexslot.gg.
And a big part of Nerd Rage, too. So big shout outs all around to everybody. If you're looking at a sideboard, it makes it a lot easier than figuring out spreadsheets, I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. He's got a lot of great tools there for you to use. We're going to get down into the action, though, here. George is on his usual blue-white Narset deck, and Bill's rocking Rhinos. We haven't had Rhinos on the stream in a while, and we figured we'd get some of that goodness. A pretty
Mhm.
popular deck in the meta, I'd say.
Yeah, I will say, I believe last week Bill was playing Death Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So this now proves to me that Bill is a hashtag Steam Vents gamer
Yeah.
and just finding any excuse to play Steam Vents and all the good cards that go with it. So this is classic Rhinos, which if you ask a lot of people, we are expecting Rhinos to probably be the most popular deck at upcoming energies, at the
Mm-hmm.
RC. It's just a deck that has a big I win button, can really just sneak games, and sometimes has the perfect tempo to just like 1, 2, 3, and just two Rhinos and possibly two Rhinos and a Shardless. That clock is fast. That game can end so quickly.
Absolutely. Rhinos puts a power on board pretty quickly here. Hi, Max in chat. For those that don't know, Max helps us out at the store with all of our product needs. So welcome in. How do you do?
Hello, Max from Southern. How are you?
Starting off pretty tame here, just a couple lands from both of our players. George has a fetch and play, basic island, and Bill's got a steam vents that I think he had
Yeah,
come in
we
untapped, but
played
then didn't play anything.
So this to me is someone who has Dead Gone in their hand,
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to lose the turn one Ragavan, and just doesn't know George's nonsense for blue white,
Yeah.
and wanted to make sure that we can play this untapped, possibly to have access to a Dead Gone or an early Mystical Dispute. So if for some reason you're trying to fight back against maybe a Shredder or a Ragavan, something of the likes, it allows you to have that answer. And what's interesting for Rhinos, they can have all this early 1 and 2 mana interaction while still meeting all the criteria for the Cascade packages.
Can you remind me what Deadgon does? I was thinking more of like a spell pierce out of Bill, but I don't
Oh,
know exact
none.
Rhinos lists.
Dead Gone's a split card of one side is an instant for 1 red that deals 2 damage,
Mm-hmm.
and the other is an instant for 2 and a red that bounces a creature.
I see.
And remember, we can't play Spell Pierce in the Rhinos deck because it costs 1, so we'd Cascade and hit it. So we have to be
Right,
so
right. So we got to
careful.
have those tricky,
Mhm.
what in quotes, one cost spells.
And Bill, unfortunately, round 1 runs into main deck Chalice of the Void out of George.
George was talking about bringing these earlier today. I wasn't sure if he was serious or not, but looks
Yeah.
like he's a man of his word.
And
On one, takes care of a lot of things Rhinos is looking to do.
yeah, this Chalice on 0 just slapped in on turn 3 after Bill used his mana to force a Teferi.
Mm-hmm.
So George had the two best answers to the Rhino Cascade package in Teferi and Chalice. One got hit, and then the other was able to resolve.
Yeah, and you really have to answer both. One isn't
Both.
really a bait. I mean, yeah, those
Right.
those are both that you want to look to counter.
But here, this new-ish hotness for the Rhinos deck is using Mutavault, as you see in Bill's mana base,
Mm-hmm.
to help you play Flame of Anor, the spell we just cast, which one of those modes is Shatter.
Mm-hmm.
So he shattered the Chalice, removed that from play, went back to our turn, and immediately we're just cascading with our Shardless now.
Very nice. So we're gonna flip through, find Crashing Footfall's the only legal target in the deck. But looks like George might have a response here.
I think we're looting in response. George might desperately be on the hunt for a force or a card to pitch to a blue force.
He's gonna get rid of Days Undoing there as the discard to Gaia Reach Sanitarium. I think that's a little secret layer version there. But it looks like the spell has resolved, and those Rhinos are gonna come down
Mhm.
on the board.
Thankfully, this doesn't spell doom for George, as George is a known Supreme Verdict lover.
Absolutely.
Which a lot of Rhino's thoughts is, I will put this 10 power in play and attack you twice, and the game will end, and I'll hold this force in my hand and answer any of your answers. Supreme Verdict cannot be countered, slammed here on turn 4, and cleaned up one Shardless and all the Rhinos that came with it.
So the Mutavault is because it counts as a wizard.
It can become a wizard, right?
All right.
So you can either use Mutavault to activate itself and turn it into a creature with all creature types, or you can just like in the mid game have this 2/2 attacker out of your mana base, but it allows alongside new upgrade for all of modern Tishana's Tidebinder, also a
Mm,
wizard,
hmm.
gives you a higher density to make Flame of Anor a possible 2 to 3 for 1 on getting multiple modes, but its default is still 3 mana shatter, 3 mana draw a card, or 3 mana deal 5 damage to something.
Absolutely. We see Bill resolving another cascade trigger here for those that don't know. You don't want to respond to the spell that
Mm-hmm.
causes the cascade. You want to resolve after, or you want
Yes,
to respond after that
because
spell has been found.
the cascading is a trigger.
It's a cast trigger, yeah.
But we now want to live in a world of Tishana's Tidebinder. We
Mm,
now have a card that does make you want to
to
respond to
respond.
the literal card itself now.
Indeed, indeed. I haven't seen any Tidebinders yet. I don't think we've had any on
There's
stream.
like 2 in Bill's hand, so just
Oh, really?
yeah,
You've
hold
got a better
tight.
view of it than me. I need a better angle on this here.
It's maybe one of the perfect cards for Rhinos to keep getting these upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lot of people are worried about Teferis and Chalices and a lot of cards that help interact favorably against this. The Rhinos decks, with adding Tidebinders, possibly some copies of Murktide, even these Mutavaults, can allow you to have a backup plan that actually does something,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the old backup plan of hope to deal with your hate and then add more Rhinos.
Right. Yeah, I think Rhinos has some really heavy hitting power early on and then maybe fizzled out a bit more. Now they have some more staying power with these additions to
Yes.
the deck.
And especially with Lorien revealed out of the Lord of the Rings set, it allows us to play a lot of subtleties. We were already playing a lot of forces. Tidebinder is a blue card, so it plays in all the pitch package really well.
Yeah, Bill responding to a 3 mana Leyline binding there from George with the Force Negation pitching a subtlety. We'll go back to crashing in with some Rhinos. George is down to
Down to
6
6,
life.
which
So
is a
1
hit
turn.
from both these Rhinos,
Mm-hmm.
or if George deals with a Rhino, the Rhino in the Mutavault that we've had just hanging out.
Right, yes. Good math there. I keep forgetting about this Mutavault. It's very
Yes.
tricky hanging out there in the lands.
It's sometimes a 1 or 2 of that's kind of floating in and out of the Rhinos deck, but especially when you're looking at 2, 3, even 4 copies of Flaminor in the mid to late game, when you've kind of like done the thing, put the Rhinos in play, this Mutavault allows you to use just a little bit extra mana to really juice up the Flame of Anors.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what George is able to do here. He's got quite a few cards in hand, which is typical for him, but you never know if he's got it or if he
Yeah,
doesn't.
he needs to do something with all the cards.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh, and fun fact, there's a Kahira floating somewhere for Georgie Boy. And we'll most likely, due to not revealing it, we'll see it in game 2 and 3 when it makes a surprise appearance. He was
Mhm.
probably too worried about that Big Mac to worry about the big cat. And instead, we can hard cast this Solitude, which will allow us to answer a Rhino, and then its lifelink should be good on blocking duty as well.
Yeah, that definitely gives us at least a turn here.
But what if we Tidebinder the
Oh,
trigger?
but
We're going to Subtlety back on the Tidebinder.
stacks on stacks here. Couple spells on the stack here.
The one trick I haven't got to do yet is Tidebinder my own Evoke trigger to keep the Elemental.
Ooh, oh, Tiebinder is such a cool card. I love it so much. I'm playing it in standard right
Yep.
now, which is a very fun thing.
Remember, when you're targeting your own stuff, they do still lose a lot of abilities,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it can just be a free 3/3 or a free 3/2 when you need it.
Indeed. George down to 4 or 2.
Right? Because we blocked a Rhino, but then gained, I believe, or we didn't even block one of the Rhinos. We just allowed it to come
No.
through. And now we're trying to get our own life gain going.
Bill doesn't have any mana to activate this Mutavault,
Mhm.
so the Solitude is free to crush in here.
And the second Solitude.
one will clean up the other Rhino.
This is the thing with the way that George builds these control decks is there are very few win conditions outside of Solitudes and Subtleties,
Yeah.
and the fact that your interactive spells end up being your mid game and late game just killing your opponent. These 2 Solitudes have a non-zero chance of just going all the way the rest of this game.
Yeah, we'll see. Bill still has some stuff in his hand though that he can use to deal with these. You can't Tishana Tidebinder a lifelink.
No, because it's
'Cause
not,
not a triggered ability.
yes, when they fixed lifelink is different than when this creature deals damage, you gain that much life.
Right.
One is a trigger and one is a keyword ability, yada, yada, yada. The facts and the rules of the game, just trust me, it's not a trigger anymore.
Yeah, don't think about it too hard. It makes sense.
And here's the Dead Gone dealing with another one of George's creature, and we've cleaned up all these Solitudes.
He bounced one, killed the other, or
They're both in the
they're
bin
both
now.
they're both gone.
I think one traded off with a Rhino and the other was dead. So now George looks like maybe on one card to fight back against
Looks
this Rhinos
like
player.
it. I think Bill might have just a card as well.
George is letting them loot, but very importantly, a lot of this game was spent. Uh, the Rhinos player was missing lands for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
so George on just like raw resource has the overall mana advantage over Bill, and Bill lost the Mutavault in combat as well.
I think we're resolving another Solitude trigger there.
Yep, I think
Forgot
we
to
just
gain the
missed one, so
life
we're just
from
making
Bill.
sure. And now we see Bill discarding a Rhino because
Ooh.
it's not time. George got to pitch away this land to the Gaia Reach. But looming is this Crashing Footfalls from Bill.
So that'll be the fourth copy I think he just pitched to the Gaia Reach.
Yeah,
If I
that could be, which is
believe.
not a place where the Rhinos player wants to be if they don't have main deck Endurance. If you have an Endurance floating, you might be able to find it and shuffle these Rhinos back in. But if we don't, we might be stuck. These might be our last 4 for us. But remember, our deck has Subtlety, Tidebinder, possibly Murktides or other payoffs for your big mana. So we're not
Not out of the
out of the game once we're out of Rhinos. We're just out of Rhinos.
right.
Our Cascade spells are going to be like the biggest bricks in our deck from there.
George at exactly 2 Rhinos worth of health as well.
Yes.
Ooh. A dress down, I think, just being used to cycle here.
Yeah,
No
most likely
creatures
just-
with abilities on the board right now.
Yeah, well, the Rhinos lost Trample for a moment, but boy,
Oh,
is that
there you
least,
go.
that's the least important part of cycling this through.
Indeed, indeed. It's a really good point. Shauna's Tidebinder is basically a teacher of MTG rules.
Yes.
I think there's a few cards like that where you get to learn a lot of interactions just with a single card.
When your opponent learns that you can stop Urza Saga from ever tapping for mana, they get real upset the
Oh,
first
man.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can counter the trigger of the mode to gain taps for mana.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can counter
And
any of
then-
the modes, any of the moments on sagas, depending on what you like to answer and what's giving you trouble. The card I think is going to live on for so long of finding new interactions every single time you play with it.
Absolutely. Do you know if it's seen play in older formats like Legacy?
I don't. I am. Well, I know there is a Rhinos deck in Legacy, and that
Oh,
might be
really?
its best shot. Is if the Rhinos decks just need more toys. But I think otherwise the cost of 3 might be what holds it back.
All right,
And we
George
see,
attempting to get subtlety in play there with a dress down. Bill's
and-
going to scoop it up quickly with 2 damage from a dead. And we'll go to game 2. Bill wins game 1, and we'll move into sideboards here as we look at some deck lists. George didn't have time to submit his deck list, and I don't think we have one for Bill either. So we've grabbed some off of Goldfish for you here. Here's a pretty stock Rhinos list. We didn't see any violent outbursts, I don't think.
we
well-
saw one. So we saw one Shardless hit a Rhino. And we saw an Outburst hit a Rhino.
Okay.
So we know they're on the classic package here.
Mm-hmm.
I think every card that we see in this main deck, we did at one point see out of our Rhinos players. So pretty easy to see that there. We'll take a peek at this sideboard of possible options that could be available to a Rhinos player.
Yeah, we've got Endurance, a full 4 of in this example deck. Magus of the Moon, a 4th Tashana's Tidebinder, Brotherhood End, Flame of Anor, Mystical Dispute, 3 Forces of Vigor, and 2 Blood Moons.
So you want the Flame because it's been incredibly helpful at making sure we have answers to chalices, while also just being an ability for us to draw cards or deal with important blockers. Mystical Disputes in whatever number is available to this Rhinos player. You're playing against blue-white control, a pile of blue cards. Your Mystical Disputes will definitely be worthwhile to help you kind of fight back. Then it's kind of a flavor to taste. You may want this 4th Tidebinder because there's some interactions that allow you to turn off the opponent's chalice if you can line things up just right.
It hits chalices, it hits planeswalkers.
Yes, being able to lock down possibly a Teferi or a
Mhm.
Narset or other pieces, that's definitely worthwhile. And then there's the Brotherhood's End, which we might bring in because it can deal with Chalice, but its other mode deals 3 damage to walkers, which is the same deal. Might be able to help us clean up and get maybe like a 2 or 3 for 1, which is kind of a part of the Rhino's whole strategy, is getting the most bang for your buck out of all your cards.
Yeah, so lots of good inclusions here. The question, of course, is what do you bring out? You don't want to dilute your main board plan too much here, so possibly some trimming. I don't know which cards you would want to fully remove here.
Those 4 Dead Gons, because their main mode is to deal 2 damage to a creature when you're
Mhm.
playing against a deck that the literal only target is their Solitudes. Gets a lot more difficult for you to cash that card in.
There you go. So we can take those out. Depending on how many cards you want to bring in, there might be some other cuts that you need to make.
Yeah, because like if I cut those 4 and I bring in Tidebinder, Flame of Nor, and 2 Disputes, I feel ready and good to go.
There you go. Let's take a look at a George-esque list. This is a blue-white control list. It does have Narset Days Undoing,
Mm-hmm.
so possibly similar to what George has here. I also see the Leyline Bindings, the Gaia Reach Sanitarium that he's a big fan of, Supreme Verdicts. We didn't see any One Rings out of George in Game 1, but that Solitude and Subtlety package is there as well. We see Prismatic Endings that he could possibly have, some counter spells proper in the deck. Force Negations, of course. Let's look at this sideboard, though. Kahira, George did say that he's going to reveal that for Game 2, so we'll see that come out. Subtlety, Ashiok, Prismatic Ending, Stern Scolding, Dovin's Veto, Force Negation, Supreme Verdict, Chalice of the Void, On Thin Ice, and Dress Downs. What are you looking to bring in here, George?
We're starting with the continuing
Excuse
power.
me, Dom.
The continuing power of the Chalice of the Voids. We know how important those are.
Mm-hmm.
The forces to fight back just in this going to be a free counter magic sort of matchup. Supreme Verdict that allows you to really trade up your 1 card for 3, 4, 6 pieces of cardboard out of the Rhinos player, and then most importantly these Dovin's Vetoes. These are cards that are here for the Cascade matchups because a lot of their plan is I'm going to Cascade and hold up a force. Dovin's Veto allows you to counter with an uncounterability clause so they can't even fight back with maybe that perfect piece they were holding up.
Exactly. Let's get back down into the action here, though, as players are shuffling up for Game 2. George will be on the play. Don't know. I don't want to be rude, but I feel like that's something he usually has.
Being on the play
The
in
play
Game 2?
in Game 2, yeah.
I mean,
Respectfully.
yeah, respectfully. I get it.
Control, I think improves a lot more in the sideboard games.
The difficulty of playing control strategy is how wide the field of Modern is. You bring as many flexible tools as you can to your Game 1s. Counterspell answers most things. Prismatic Ending answers most things. But when you get to a post-board matchup, you can really gear yourselves to have a great spot in the matchup. So, for example, a card like Prismatic Ending that basically reads 1 mana, deal with a Rhino, and leave the rest behind. George is probably interested in upgrading those to forces or other cards of relevance. When they played the Dress Down in the first game, it's like, oh, this is a matchup where this kind of doesn't do much. Wow, I wish this was my 4th Chalice of the Void, right? Like, you can see George can really, flavor to taste, especially post-board, to have it exactly lined up to beat the matchup at hand. But, Rhinos plays very differently than Hammer, plays different than Scam, different than Titan. So it's really hard to have the perfect plan Game 1, so you have the most universal plan. But 2 and 3, you can really zero in.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw in that example sideboard the different kinds of different kinds of tools that they bring into their sideboards. We'll see George start with just a Flooded Strand here and pass the turn. And Bill will begin us with a Misty Rainforest.
And I think that I had missed in the first game, Bill had played a Seam Vent untapped on their turn 1, and then a turn later pitched a Lorien Reveal to their Force of Negation. So I think another use that they have for their mana on turn 1 is cycling that Loriens to get additional lands. But I think Bill may have seen their hand and seen the importance of having a blue card to pitch, and then thought otherwise of using their shocked mana on that.
It's interesting, though, because he was short on lands in that Game 1, so it's hard to know if that land would have been helpful as well.
But if we didn't have that, our opponent would have had Teferi, and that would have been way worse than missing our 4th land drop.
Because a Dead Gone, or a Flame of Anor, does not deal with a Planeswalker.
I believe it only hits creatures. So a lot of our answers, like Dead Gone and Flame of Anor, can mostly only hit creatures. And then you have something like your Fire Ice, which can do 2 damage anywhere. But George, once you're aware that it's a Rhinos player, that Teferi's ticking up, not down to 1.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think. I almost always see a Teferi tick up. In what cases are you seeing it tick down?
Oh, I love ticking it down, especially if you know that it's not safe, right? If you know if your opponent has 3 creatures in play, I'm gonna play Teferi Bouncers, draw my card, and just start tempoing through, knowing that they have to waste another creature on attacking it.
The minus also draws?
Yeah, it bounces a thing, draws a card.
So wow, yeah.
I've used
Teferi's a really good card.
I've used it to pick up my own One Ring so I can reset it.
Right. Yes, I've seen that before.
And say in a matchup like this, if you're maybe a little further along, you can bounce one of the Rhinos, token ceases to exist, draw a card, and you have the best card in play while still answering a Rhino.
There you go. We'll move to Bill's turn 2 here. He fetched up a Stomping Ground. His Cascade spells don't come out until turn 3, though,
Yep.
so not looking to do too much here. You don't really have any 2-mana spells because, of course, they'll Cascade into them. But we might have interaction still on George's turn with some free spells like Force Negation.
Now, George's turn 3 here is pick up Kahira.
Ooh, I
Now,
think I like that. I like to see that a lot as any control player's opponent.
and it's a free white card, though. So George could
Oh.
be signaling, I have a Solitude, and the cards in my hand are too important. Something like a Verdict or a Teferi, but I really need something to pitch this Solitude. Oh, you're not doing much? I'll use this moment to pay 3 mana, pick up this white card.
Now, Bill passed while George was tapped out, which seems like a very bold move to me. I feel like if you have anything there, you're jamming a spell while he doesn't have mana to interact.
Or this is the Violent Outburst on your end step to get the counter spell, Shardless on my turn so it resolves.
There you go. So we'll see the Violent Outburst here. George nods and lets it resolve, though.
Right? Because this is the easy part. Let the trigger go, let them find the Rhino, tag the Crashing Footfalls spell with your counter magic or what you may have. And it'll be interesting to know if out of George's sideboard we also had a card like Engineered Explosives, which is another tool used pretty heavily to deal with.
Excuse me. We'll see an Odawara get channeled here. I assume bouncing
Bounce
one
a
of the
Rhino.
rhinos that is about to come out here. So we'll
Which
just have one at the end of the resolution of all that.
this means Bill only has to fear a force out of George now. George tapping out to do so. So if Bill has a follow-up Cascade spell, and now this 4th mana source means we could also have Mystical Dispute to fight whatever George's counter magic. If we're going to go for it, this is the moment. But then we're so worried about Supreme Verdict. Oh, yeah. I mean, we have to.
You gotta commit here, I think. So we'll see Shardless, like you said, on Bill's turn. Flip over stuff till we find another Crashing Footfalls.
And so important to know, right? This is going to be Bill's second copy of the Crashing Footfalls. We're only going to have 2 left to try to get through the rest of this game, presuming George untaps and verdicts here.
There's an Endurance flash by, so we know those are in the deck.
I love the thought of Bill just bringing in these Endurances to understand this could be a long game, and I may need to get some of these Rhinos back.
Absolutely.
Because there's not much use for the graveyard out of George, so it feels like Bill is both getting a card to allow them to get Rhinos back, and just the word flash is good against a control opponent. Just playing something that they didn't know was going to happen, and just put 3 power into play. Still just attacks, blocks, and gets the job done while keeping them off their toes.
So we see George thinking here a little bit, which hints to me he doesn't have a Supreme Verdict, because I feel like that would be slammed pretty quickly here.
And I think now the question is, right, I got the feeling that there's a Solitude from us picking up that Kahira.
Right.
Looks like we might be fetching to get our mana set up to possibly hardcast it. But that deals with a Rhino, chump blocks a Rhino.
Keeps the Shardless from attacking.
Kind of. Shardless gets a trade up because it's a 2/2 into the 3/2 Solitude. So you get to cash in your Cascade spell for a real card out of George's deck. Or we could Subtlety George's Solitude and remove this very important removal spell and blocker.
Oh, in response, George will Subtlety as well. See what he pitches here. Bill pitched a Fire and Ice.
And we've pitched a Lorien. So now this Subtlety.
This one also on the second and third.
Subtlety.
Wow. What a stack.
Yeah, this is just so important because Bill has lethal in play. We have 14 damage sitting here. George now is realizing I don't have an answer, and you might be able to just attack in and take over this game.
Yep, I see a Narset in his hand, which won't do anything.
Not the answer,
there.
and that's the game. We picked up that Kahira not like out of power, but out of not a lot to do in that moment.
Yeah.
And Rhinos, a deck that we expect to be very popular in the coming months, now making its first appearance in NRG in quite some time and taking it down 2-0.
Yeah, easy peasy there. George didn't go down without a fight. We had quite the counter war there at the end, but Bill will take it down in 2. Let's move into our backup match, though, and see what's going on there. We've got Kai and Blake, Grixis Wizards versus Murktide.
Someone's disappearing, though. A game has just ended. We're going to peek in here just a moment, see if we can get any updates on what's happening. Let's see.
Kai just won. Was that the match? That was game 1.
Game 1. Okay, great, everyone. We have time. We have Kai here on our left side with Grixis wizards, I saw Tashana's Tidebinder, and Kai is a big Snapcaster Mage fan.
He
Uh,
is.
and this will be our second showing in this first round of Flame of Anor. That's one of the cards
Mm-hmm.
really pushing people to be wizards. But Kai doesn't need to like really force it like the Rhinos deck does. We're gonna have Snapcaster. We're gonna have Tashana's Tidebinder. We might even have Vendilion clicks or cards of the
Oh
like
boy.
to just have wizards that Kai already wants to play. And then I've seen the black mana be used for things like Shieldred or Sauron's Ransom or Bowmasters, just like really supplement the overall plan.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the Black Splash is here. Kai's been playing a lot of Is It Wizards,
Yeah, the
and
Izzy
this
Wizzies.
Izzy Wizzies indeed. I don't know if you saw Menguchi's December power rankings for Modern.
Oh
But he
yeah,
did at
they're
the
way down
very
there.
last spot there in C tier was blue white or blue red wizards.
Mm. And I see. Are we looking at this exact Grixis quote quote cough cough
There's a spell
wizards
stutter
deck?
sprite and a Vendilion click. Good call.
Yeah, and Dreadhorde Arcanist. There it is. So the Dreadhordes, the card banned in Legacy,
Yeah.
is a wizard, and it combos with these Royal Scions. You see the Planeswalker in the mid screen here
Mm-hmm.
for this Grixis Wizards deck. Allows you to give +2 to your Dreadhorde Arcanist, making it 3 power, and flashing back things like Wizard's Lightning and your Flame of Anors and your Archmage's Charms. Really like upgrading the power of this overall card while comboing with the flyers of your subtleties and all these clicks and fairies to allow you to keep adding 2 extra damage on all your flying threats.
Lots of good stuff in this sideboard as well. We have another Spellstar Sprite, Magus of the Moon, Subtlety, Jace the Mind
Nice, the Mind
Sculptor.
Sculptor.
Lots of classic modern cards in this list. We've got Flusterstorm, Stern Scolding, Cast into the Fire, Force Negation, Relic of Progenitus, Stone of Eric, and some Blood Moons. There's also a Blood Moon in the main board that I want to point out there.
We're very likely to probably shave the Blood Moons out of this Wizards deck because Murktide also a known Blood Moon deck. Usually, if one of you keeps moons and the other doesn't, one of you is wrong, right? So most likely in this Is It Mirror, a lot of islands going on.
Oh. This is the
Now,
actual deck.
here's the
Excuse
Grixis
us. There's
Wizzies.
the black cards.
We found them. What's this? Bowmasters? What's that? Kolaghan's Command? Molten Collapse? Drown in the Lock? Oh, these black cards are good.
Was the last list a previous list he was working with?
But
Okay,
it's all, we still got these snaps. We've got these Tidebinders. We have these V-Clicks. A Brazen Borrower, which I believe is a rogue, but just a good spell to have here. All of this supplementing that Flame of Anor package. And this
I also see a Molten Collapse, a new card out of Ixalan alongside the Tidebinders. That we've seen an auto-include in a Rakdos scam list being included here as well.
And then the quick peek of the sideboard, I know at least something like a Relic Progenitus, really good at cleaning up before Murktide can get their DRCs and Murktide's all set up. Something like a Thoughtseize may really help you kind of push through your points of interaction. And if you're feeling it, it might just help to have something like a Force of Negation just in case.
All right. Players are still shuffling here, so we'll take a quick look at a Murktide list as well. Blake did not submit, but we grabbed one off a Goldfish here. No worries, no worries. We're grabbing it right now off a Goldfish, so excuse us just a moment here.
I love this floating just one of Fatal Push. Just really feeling the need for that 5th piece of one-man interaction after all these 4 lightning bolts.
Sure. I want to see how these Bowmasters fit in here. It's such a good card. Not a wizard, but good enough on its own to include here. Here's a Murktide list.
Classic.
I don't know if you've heard of this deck. It's been played a lot in Modern.
It's just the classic 50% deck, right? It's like just all your cards are good. You're going to churn through them. You're going to fight back, and you're going to win 50% of the matches you play. If those all line up correctly, you could just win the whole event.
There you go. Lots of good stuff out of the sideboard here. We got Magus of the Moons as well. Very similar sideboards here. Flusterstorm, Stern Scolding, Cast in the Fire, Force Negation, Mystical Dispute, Engineered Explosives. I always mess up that card. And Dress Downs.
So, generically, Murktide thinking any of these, the true counters like a Dispute and a Force, we may want for fighting back against the important spells. But actually, if our Murktide player has access to Dress Downs, Kai's entire deck is enter the battlefield, do the thing on every card that they're playing.
Lots of relevant text boxes there.
I'm fine with my DRC not having an ability for a moment, my Subtlety not having an ability for a moment, or whatever, because so much of Kai's strategy is reliant on cards entering play and doing an effect.
Absolutely. Really good point there. Let's get back down to the action here. Those players shuffle up. Blake will be on the play against Kai.
And this is one of the benefits of Kai playing this strategy is Kai most likely has a plan for Murktide. But Blake does not have a plan for Grixis wizards.
No, he does not.
Right, so a lot of your sideboard cards are dedicated to specific matchups. Knowing you have Engineer Explosives for Rhinos, you have Chalice for Rhinos, you have Forces to fight against Control and these like Cascade matchups, and then you're like, Snapcaster Mage?
Yeah.
And that's one of those moments where you go through your sideboard and you look at them like card by card, like, does this do anything? Does this do anything?
Right.
Does this do anything?
And it's tricky for Murktide as a graveyard-based deck to have graveyard hate itself because a lot of graveyard hate is parallel. It's what's the word?
Symmetrical.
Parallel, symmetrical. Thank you.
And Blake will most likely have asymmetrical versions, such as like an unlicensed hearse or something that can be very targeted, that may use to fight Murktide mirrors and realize that could come up here as well. Just you fight back. But Snapcaster is really the only card eating at the graveyard, alongside some of our K commands. But the question may be something like a hearse might just be good and big enough anyways, as we start with
Classic.
But as I mentioned before, Kai, at least at 5 minimum 1 mana piece of interaction, that is respect for cards like Ragavan, and here's that turn 1 bolt.
Yep, we'll take down that Ragavan there. Both players kept 7, so we'll see a lot of good spell slinging here.
Double spiral, 3 Spiral of Canals in play. I want to get Spiral.
Was it you that said you don't like fast lands?
I hate
the fast land
passion.
cycles. Yeah.
As the fastest hand in the West, this dashed Ragavan reveals the bolt that would answer the Ragavan. And if Blake really wants, we could take this and just start continuing the beatdown upstairs. Unless we're going straight to our end step, looking to hold up interaction instead.
Yeah, we do get the treasure for our troubles, though.
And these folks are having a good time, good chuckle over the double bolt Ragavans going on.
Yeah.
Blake had 2
You
Ragavans.
love and you hate to see it.
Right.
And I think he just
Blake drew
stripped a third one off
Ragavan.
the top. Oh
But
my goodness.
In a matchup where if you're trying to be aggressive, this Murktide player is on the play, the third Ragavan is not that bad if the third one's the one that survives.
Exactly.
But Kai here at 2 mana could have a Spell Stutter Spry, could have a Bowmaster, has so many things to just like flash in and make it so bad for this Ragavan.
We'll try for a third time, dash in the Ragavan,
Quick.
and Kai will fetch in response.
I imagine hunt for a Watery Grave here. Oh yeah, the Infinity Watery Grave, have access to all the blue that we can need, but unlock our black mana. Feeling like a Bowmaster, but Blake does have Treasure and Spire Bluff to possibly counter. Oh, this is Counterspell proper, running into our Spell Pierce.
Oh, nicely done. So this Ragavan will get to connect, flipping over a Kolagon's command.
Good card.
Good card. Not quite castable here. Not really a lot of things to do with it, though. So
Yeah.
we'll just hold the treasures for a minute here, save them for later, and tuck that Ragavan back into our hand.
And this is like not that bad because it kind of lets you keep the Ragavan a little safer, making Kai have to like dedicate the mana to your turn instead of their own board state. But that forces Blake to dedicate 2 mana a turn to doing so.
Exactly. Kai didn't play land for turn, playing the Preordained first.
Yeah,
Don't
maybe
know,
on the hunt.
Don't know if he's got that third land in hand.
Both those quickly to the bottom and draw the mystery 3rd card from this Preordain.
Yeah, I think hints to me even more that he is looking for a land.
Oh,
a
yes.
second Preordain.
Yeah,
There's
there
2 lands.
There they are. Okay, there they are.
All right, 6. A fetch as well, so that'll clear the second one off the top.
Which we might want to do and might not, because this might be our 3rd and 4th land drop. And then I want no more after that.
No.
But quickly we're getting rid of those. Going on to 12, our own mana base fighting us against these Ragavans.
Yeah, a lot of Kai's lands are going to be shock lands and fetches. You want that mana available immediately, so not a lot of triomes, I would think.
Or this beautiful island. Kai uses these islands all the time.
Is it the guild kit one?
Yeah, these are the guild kits.
Nice.
Just a beautiful choice as the 3rd Preordain of this turn.
Wow, I don't think I have that on my bingo card.
No,
that's quite the play there.
3 Preordains is one thing, but 3 in a turn is another.
Exactly.
And these ones, the first one we had, immediate bottom. The second one, we kept both. This third one, this is the debate.
This is the thinker. Flipping between our hand and the preordained cards.
Oh yeah, this is a real thinker.
And we'll
both
tuck
gone.
both.
Interesting to think this long and want neither. But we're on to the mystery 3rd card once again.
Ooh, I think I just saw 2 bolts in Blake's hand.
Yeah, I know there's oh yeah.
2 bolts, 2 Ragavans.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
We're looking to get this game over with as soon as we can. Yeah. Oh, we're just those are clear as day. You guys can see those a mile away.
Yeah, let's dash in this Ragavan first. I think it's a good start.
And I think Kai's only answer really is a subtlety not being used here, revealing this Tidebinder.
I think that might be mine.
Yeah.
I traded him for it earlier.
And it might be Blake's here. We might just use our mana and just get more
Oh,
pressure in play.
really? Yeah, just grab the creature,
our
not
hand
even.
is Ragavan 2 more bolts.
That's
our-
fair. Yeah,
wait.
Ragavan's legendary, so having
Wait.
extra copies of that isn't too relevant
Our
here.
hand might be 3 Ragavans, 2 bolts.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow. Wow, look at all the monkeys.
we got a whole herd, squad,
Crew?
crew.
Because they're monkey
It is-
pirates?
it is 3 monkeys, 2 bolts. That is so many Ragavans in your top 10 cards.
Both of our players having some chunking in their decks with the 3
Yeah.
Preordains on Kai's
Oh
side.
yeah, Blake drew all 4 Ragavans as a game.
Yeah, one of
But-
them's in the bin.
Yeah, and the rest of these are gonna be supplemented by these bolts, because Kai may be like, oh, I'll flash in this blocker. Nope, Dunzo.
All right, as we crash in with the team here,
Oh.
we'll see our first Orcish Bowmaster. Probably going to ping the Ragavan here.
But this is most likely the hardest thing to fight back against. We could have used this bolt to interact with most blockers Kai was able to put down if it was something like a click or a Tidebinder. But the fact that this is just 2 bodies is the hardest part, because we can shoot the 1 damage at the Ragavan
Mm-hmm.
and then double block the Tidebinder and just fully clear this board. And Blake may be using this bolt before Kai even has that opportunity.
Yeah, I think I value just clearing the board here as opposed to the 3 damage that a bolt represents. A creature can do more damage over time if it's allowed to continue to connect.
Mm-hmm.
I still have the option of blocking with the 1 creature here.
And the question might be, if you have a follow-up one, are you interested in using the follow-up to make this grow? But it looks like it's just blocking, throwing itself under the bus. And now the only point of aggression is the Tidebinder that Blake stole from Kai, but they don't know that Blake's hand is 2 more Ragavans.
Blake will play a Mishra's Bauble here. Take a peek at Kai's top of his deck.
And then Kai just
And then Kai
shuffle it
will
away.
shuffle.
Ah, yeah, you got a good look. Well, it's gone now.
All right, but Blake will get a draw for his troubles. See what he rips here on Kai's upkeep. Still have a couple monkeys in hand and 1 more bolt.
And this treasure to work with, so if we ever just need to quickly snap off this bolt, it is available.
Land will be the draw for Blake there. Not too helpful with the mana generation from Ragavan. I think we're about at the amount of mana we need.
Mhm.
Expressive Iteration off the top is such a good card, though.
Now the question is I like using this dash to make Kai think this is the most important thing going on this turn,
Mm-hmm.
to save that iteration so that we can possibly get the most out of that, because Kai will spend a lot of their turn dealing with Ragavan first.
Oh, yeah. We move to combat here, crashing with the team, and
Ooh,
see a
Snapcaster Mage.
Snapcaster Mage. That nice Premier Play promo there.
Oh,
Blake will give it a quick
a
read.
Snapcaster Mage, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while since this card has entered the
Yeah.
format. You don't really see it too much anymore, except out of Kai.
Yeah, its saving grace is Flame of Anor. Like, they are a big 1-2
Mhm,
punch, the 2 of
mhm.
these cards together.
There he is. Snapcaster Mage enters the battlefield. Target instant or sorcery in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn.
Of all the options, we're going this Eternal Masters version that isn't even the photo of the man who designed the card
Ultimate
himself.
Masters, yeah.
We're going to use this bolt, clear that up. Not quite sure what Kai targeted. And
Yes,
now-
it did enter the battlefield, so something was targeted there. Cleaned up 4 blocks here.
And the question, yeah, we haven't taken damage.
And Kai has 2 mana left, so I assume he's going to be able to still cast whatever he targeted with the Snapcaster here, which will be a bolt.
That bolt, very important.
Makes
Clean
sense.
up that Ragavan. That's got to be the last monkey of the game, right?
Gotta be.
It just has
He
to
wouldn't
be.
have another.
There's no way you'd have a 4th Ragavan,
Connect
right?
with the Tishana's Tiebinder will take Kai down to 6 mana there.
Oh, now are we scared of Spell Pierce, or are we going to get Island, Crack Treasure, and Expressive Iteration? This is the easy part, cracking the fetch, and we sent it on back. So, not interested in playing into a possible Spell Pierce.
Yeah, let's leave some Mana up to bluff some interaction. I don't think he's got any
Mm,
interaction left in his hand there.
I think our hand is iteration. Did we go through both those
Monkey,
bolts?
monkey.
No, we're this is the fourth monkey. The other three are already done.
Right, right.
This is the last remaining champion.
Counter. No,
Preordained. Little
preordained.
baby iteration?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the power of Murktide, just the churn of just getting through your deck and finding the cards of importance, and
Mhm.
Ragavan just presenting these threats.
Dash in another monkey.
And Kai's at 6, like, we are. Nope,
And
Snapcast number 2.
different art this time.
I
Still
believe
does the
Kai's are
same.
all 4 different, so
Oh, really?
so you're ready.
Oh, boy. Kai, a frequent mismatched card
Yeah,
player.
not a fan when it's Tron lands. It's cool when it's Snapcaster.
Yeah, we'll take
Davis.
it here.
As this snap, not
I think
sure.
he's got another bolt he could target.
Mm.
There's some other good stuff in that grave, though, that he could pick.
Bolt Snap Bolt is a tried and true strat. Looks like we need to consider just digging for cards of relevance, I would say. And it's a Flame of Anor. And we bin the flame instead of wanting to draw it.
Flame costs 3 mana.
Yeah, we're nowhere near 3 right now. So now this Snapcaster can choose, does it want to eat this Dashed Ragavan or their own Tidebinder that's really just been hitting them for, I think, 9 damage this game already.
Yeah, I think you block the Tidebinder here just because you are at such low life.
And the Ragavan uses up a lot of Blake's mana per turn as well.
Don't forget to put that into your hand again. Well, we're still in Blake's main phase here.
Right,
So.
because we have another preordain that we could do here.
Oh, and
Or our first one for Blake.
Mhm.
This little baby iteration, if you will. Take a look at 2, take 1.
an Unholy Heat and a land will be the 2 cards on top there.
I mean, not bad, but not what we're looking for.
No,
I
I think we just want some more creatures.
And it's a
Spell
snare.
snare. Oh, that hits a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah.
creatures in Kai's deck as well.
Including the namesake Snapcasters.
Indeed.
And Bowmaster. So, I mean, that's tons of hits right there.
Oh.
Is this an EE for 2? EE for 1. So this is a preemptive answer to the Ragavan in hand.
Indeed. Also hits the spell snare that he doesn't know about.
Well, this is engineered explosives, not chalice.
Oh,
so,
excuse me.
Yeah, so
Thank
this would
you.
be the removal as opposed to the true lockdown. And now, looks like Blake may have drawn second iteration. What's it like, my friend? And now we're just...
Put it right into your
yeah.
graveyard. That resolves, right?
And I'm on the hunt for, like, maybe bolts, but I'm kind of looking for any sources of constant pressure to go alongside this Ragavan.
We got the land you can put. Oh, Unholy Heat will be the card put into hand. Mishra's Ball will be the one in exile, and the land will get tucked.
The Heat, presumably an answer to whatever blockers Kai might present.
Indeed.
And it's hard here with this Ragavan because you kind of want to force Kai to use the EE so they don't get, like, a free removal out of this. But also, Kai seems very willing with just 4 unspent mana anyways.
Right. A lot of things you got to consider here.
That's a 1, that's a 2, that's a Ragavan. Right. Kai doesn't mind too much because they're probably just going to pop this explosives. That is all 4 Ragavans dealt with now.
We haven't seen any Murktides yet. We've seen all the monkeys,
Right.
though.
And
I feel like you see Ragavans more often than a Murktide in a Murktide deck anyway.
And now we drew a Dragon Rage Channeler there.
Blake Mishra bobbled the top of his own deck. Must not have liked what he saw there, so he's going to fetch it away and grab another island. Just sitting at a healthy 18 to Kai's
Yeah.
4.
Kai has been on the back foot the whole game, and not only kind of expressed by the flow of the game we saw overall, but just how high Blake's been able to keep their life total the whole game as well.
Absolutely. He did a lot of damage to himself as well with his own mana base. So Blake has done a lot of damage here, but Kai's done some damage to himself as well.
And now we have this DRC so that we can start applying pressure again.
Do a graveyard check here to see if it's delirious.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta imagine it is.
I think we're at an easy 5 type. Oh, and now we're going to fight over this. This is counterspell. We're going to... snap? Okay, I think we cash on the spell snare on this Snapcaster. Oh, yeah.
Spell snare in response to the Snapcaster. Trigger the Dragon's Rage
Mhm.
Channeler Surveil. See an expressive iteration on top.
Leave that iteration on top. And now, if this spell snare resolves hitting the Snapcaster, it's kind of like you countered 2 spells.
Yeah.
They don't get the 2-1, and they don't get whatever card they were after.
1 for 2.
Yep.
Or 2 for 1, excuse me. Duh.
Yes. And now we have this Flame of Anor, but the Snapcaster hasn't resolved yet, so we don't currently control a wizard. And this is just a draw to most likely looking for points of interaction as a part of this overall fight for this Snapcaster mage.
Yeah, so we just get the 1 mode here. Picture the draw 2.
And the snap's
It's
gone as
gonna
well.
resolve, but we'll bolt
And now,
before it can hit.
do we have one more piece? We have this snare. We just made Kai use all that mana.
Yeah, so he doesn't have 2 up because he had to pay so much for the Flame
Yep.
of Anor.
So the spell snare got the snap, and the spell pierce got the bolt. And now just the lone creature in play is this DRC.
We need something else to take this game away. Dragon's Rage Chandler is just 3 points of damage. So we're not at lethal quite yet.
But yeah, we left this iteration on top of that DRC.
We could find a bolt. We could
Mhm.
find. We can't find a Ragavan. Excuse me.
Right, that's the one thing we know we can't find. But also, we've yet to hit a Murktide, and now's the perfect time to find one. Right, Kai has a single card left. Tidebinder Force Blood Moon. Now, Blood Moon, I had made the comment earlier when we thought Kai was only on Izzet.
Mm-hmm.
Kai is on Grixis. I see 2 islands, and if I play this Blood Moon, tons of mountains.
All right, here comes the Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Guy nodding. I don't think that's a passive priority yet.
Nope.
Just a
And
acknowledgement.
Blood Moon in play. Now, Kai can play through a lot of it with the 2 islands that they do have, but you're shut out of your black cards now.
Indeed.
So,
With Blake insulated from it as well. He's got 2 islands.
And these 2 treasures,
And the
even if you
treasures.
accidentally locked yourself, Ragvan helped you all those turns ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like our cards now are Subtlety, Counterspell,
Yeah.
Unholy Heat. Ooh, we're getting closer and closer.
We're getting really close here.
And again, none of these are Murktide. It is
no.
just looming
Where's
on the
it
game.
at?
Yep, just for lack of a better term, a Naked Solitude, no target. This is just a 3/3 flyer. Drew a Spirebluff Canal Mountain. And just getting in there, Kai down to 1. As the kids say, 1 is not none. Still in this game, and off to a game number 3 with a scrappy 4 counted 4 Ragavan draw from Blake here on Murktide. And I've seen both these players very aggressively checking the clock. I might have worries for them.
Yeah, really well played game there. Lots of action on both sides of our players there. Kai had a lot of lands, so I don't know if there was a bit of a flood there, but a lot of points of interaction still. Those Snapcaster mages give you so much value, being able to play cards that aren't in your hand.
And I wonder if a lot of that is Kai has control player brain. And what I mean by that is the most important thing you're taught is hitting your land drops. Right? It's what a lot of times you'll see players using cards like iterations and preordains and so forth just to make sure that they can always make land drops while applying pressure. So that may just also be the case, as you were saying, that Kai wants to make sure to hit as many land drops as possible because Snap needs a lot of mana to snap and play a thing. Flame of Anor costs 3. So they're incentivized to continue making their land drops for Kai while also having cards that are cheap to utilize using as much of that mana as possible.
Absolutely. I don't know if you caught it here. Blake doing something that a lot of Merc players do, boarding out the Ragavans when you're on the draw.
Right, and we used up all of the Ragavan equity in game 2 anyways.
Yeah, I think we're pushing our luck if we continue to keep these in our deck.
This opening hand has a Bolt, a DRC, a Murktide.
3 islands?
Yeah. I can't tell if Blake is exclaiming in excitement. Okay, we are. There was definitely a look in the eye as that hand was kept.
We'll play that preordain off the top there. Take a look at 2 cards.
And the elation has gone away.
Very flash in the pan, bit of emotion there.
Blake, a perfect find here, getting the Scalding Tarn, getting us access to red mana to go alongside all those islands.
Guy with a great land is his first for turn as well. He's got that Triome. Fix all of his mana and an island and pass back to Blake for his second turn of the game.
And wow, a hand just chock full.
Heaters.
And drawing the spell snare again, I'm sure this will just... We're going to keep up this island, and if Kai is ever like, ooh, this is the moment for Snap, or this is the moment for Bowmaster, this spell snare is just going to get it.
Yeah, we'll fetch there. Quick passing back and forth here. Kai just playing lands. Say go.
Oh, and this iteration, Just the perfect card to help us refuel after going through all of this.
Quick move to combat there. I feel like we might have had a chance to get this Dragon Rage Channeler a little bit bigger, but we're holding up mana for interaction instead.
Right, and because our one card in the yard already is a sorcery, we don't have a way to cast Iteration and force a fourth type with this DRC because we'd only be forcing the third type.
Right. So we'll just crash in for 1 damage there. Kai will shock in, taking us to 17 all. Cast a Preordain.
And Kai here doing the same trick that we saw out of our Rhinos player with a Mutavault hanging on their mana base to make sure you always have access to a wizard when you need it. And the second DRC.
Yeah, J4, hey man, what's up? He says Blake likes to play super safe. I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing that here. And just one red source, though, seems really rough in a Murktide deck.
Well, remember, we kept the 3 island hand, and the Scalding Tarn thankfully saved us just a little bit. And it was a hand that wasn't too reliant on the 1 DRC, but now drawing the second, the Steam Vent put in a lot of work so far. But a hand chock full. Iteration, we have a counterspell, we have that snare still waiting, and we've rolled over this Pierce. Oh, I think we're in turns.
Oh, yep, there comes the die.
Well, if any of these 2 gamers right now can win, it's only 2 DRCs already in play.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Kai's playing to not lose here. And he had a Shoulder's Edict that was countered earlier, but that's the only point of removal we've seen so far from him.
And, we kind of could snap Edict, but then that means the creature's in the yard, and the DRC then has flying and is delirious.
Try choosing to have the Steam Vent enter untap. Gonna shock it in here. We have this Mutavault that we can animate to make our Flame of Anors better.
Absolutely.
I think I'd like to see a Flame of Anor here. This seems great. Oh goodness.
Oh, interesting.
We went. Oh, I think we're walking back something here.
I think we're debating to do something post no blocks. But I think the issue is we already have an instant in the yard with this Spell Pierce, so we don't yet achieve Delirium.
We're going to cast a bolt, triggering the Surveil on these Dragon's Rage Channelers, which will have a Tidebinder come out.
And I think we were trying to Tidebinder the Surveil trigger, so the DRCs never have a chance at flying. One of them would have been dropped to the ground no matter what, and we could have traded off. But instead, this trades for the counterspell. And now, if this is your 4th type, it's the 3rd, and that's an instant again. So we're locked on 3 of these DRCs.
We need a creature or that enchantment.
There it is, Bennett.
Bennett, now these are 3/3s.
So important here that these will become 3/3s.
All right, threw 4 cards into the bin there. Going to put Kai down to 5.
Yeah, that is what Kai needed, because remember, the bolt that started all this resolved, and the damage from the 2 DRCs doing 9 total. And this is just kind of a naked Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, these Dragon's Rage Channelers fly. The Snapcaster Mage does not.
And Blake has the ability to slightly fight back because we have this spell Snare in hand. We're getting one of these DRCs bolted. But remember, the remaining DRC is in the air, and this iteration might be able to dig for a bolt or a Ragavan.
Yeah, we're on turn 4 as we go to Blake's turn here.
Kai variance.
This is his last chance.
Oh, that's Unholy Heat. That's the wrong red one.
We have an ability to dig our way out of this. I don't know if this Expressive Iteration is going to resolve, though. But it's our only way to get this game.
And there's a Murktide, but that one's not going to matter.
We don't have haste. Yeah. It's not going to come out fast enough.
We're going to start by trying to heat the Snapcaster. Not a problem.
Oh, maybe get a... No, because we need a red source for the bolt. Blake using it to get a peek at the top of his deck before he expressives here. You could hit a land and a bolt with the expressive, so and it doesn't quite lock him out.
Yeah, if that card's not land or bolt, I'm rolling that over, and then the iteration, I'm rolling that over. It's not land or bolt, and I'm digging as hard as I can, like you're saying.
I think Blake talking out his process here, too. It doesn't really matter. The information he keeps hidden from Kai.
Yeah, not much is a secret right now, right? We are in the final moments. Blake, yep. We're priced into it. This is the play. These are the cards we have. Iteration. DRC trigger. Snapcaster Mage. This Snapcaster
I tried to read his lips there. Lightning
bolt.
bolt.
We had hits the DRC. Yeah. That's the aggression gone.
And that's the game there.
Yeah, we're
We'll
gonna
we'll
roll.
resolve our spells, but there really isn't any way for either of our players to
Yeah,
win here. So this game and this match will result in a tie, unless one of our players decides to scoop it up
yeah, but we're
as
gonna
a
hang here
homie.
for just a moment. But these are the final moments. Blake not quite finding that final 5 damage. Kai staving off death for as long as they can. Kai's gonna go to their 5th turn, maybe do something with a little bit of flourish, and we're out of here.
All right, well played by both of our players there. Blake nearly gets it out from Kai in game 3 there, but that first game that we weren't able to see took the majority of their
Yeah,
time in that match.
that's one of the hard parts about playing these like two interactive decks against each other is time. It just takes time to play the game. It takes time to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And now here's an iteration.
Sure, let's spin the
Two
wheels a little
volt,
bit
no
here.
mountains. Yeah,
All
just
right.
just drop these cards on the table.
Yeah, I think we're gonna let Blake spin his wheels a little bit here. We'll just take a quick look at an ad before we head into our break here and pick round 2 features. If you're looking to play some Magic or any of the other games that we offer at our store, here's a look at our weekly schedule. Now, nearly nearly updated. I thought we had it updated, but we do not. Tuesday is not Pioneer, it is Lorcana, and we have also added Standard to our Friday F&M as well. So coming out for all that good gaming, we've got One Piece League on Tuesday, we got Digimon League on Saturday, and next week begins our Modern League. Come
Oh,
and
that's
play
right.
for some leaderboard points
There it is.
and your chance at part of the pot at the end of those 3 months. We look forward to having you. We have a lot of people that are very excited for that, said they're going to be showing up a lot more often because of that league. And we look forward to seeing you there. With that being said, though, that'll wrap up our round 1 coverage. We're going to head into round 2, pick some features, and be right back.
See y'all soon.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, folks. We're in round 2 of 4 here for Wednesday Night Modern. We got Airmon back in coverage. Classic Yawgmoth player has been really crushing it at
Been
locals
yoggin'.
with this deck. And Isaac is back with J Saga. I think it might be Jun Sagavan kind of deck.
We
We'll
believe
see.
so.
We'll see exactly what he's got working with here. A Gigantha is revealed as his companion. And Airmon will get us started off here very quickly with the Delighted Halfling.
Oh, the first draw here from Isaac was a questing druid with the adventure Seek the Beast.
Ooh. That card's been spicy. I've seen it in a couple lists here. I haven't seen people have too much success with it. Seems a little bit spicy at times. But we'll see if it helps him out here. We'll see an Inquisition of Kozilek. Take a
card
peek at Ermon's hand here.
This Inquisition fall super out of favor during the era of beans.
Yeah.
When every card cost 1,000,000 mana, being able to tag 3 or less was not where you wanted to be. In this matchup, it tags most of Airmon's deck except the namesake card and the Shield Druid.
Exactly. Grist will be the pick here, and I think we're gonna make the companion app a little more viewable.
Yeah, that'll do.
There we go.
We've made it.
Fantastic. I
And-
think Isaac playing these Inquisition of Kozileks to prioritize the life that he has, because Thoughtseize loses you 2 life. Duress is a little more restrictive.
And a part of it is the format just came back down to earth, right? When we're not all trying to cast Leyline Bindings, Solitudes, and other 6, 7, 8 mana cards like Elder Deep Fiends and stuff.
Oh boy.
This just allows you to have, like you said, a version of Thoughtseize that's a little more delicate to your life total, and most likely allows you to much more easily search for your shock lands because you're going to play Urza Saga at some point, a non-color producing land.
Oh, well, here's also Thoughtseize, so maybe we're just doubling up on these Seize effects here.
We might be up to like 6, 7, 8 overall of these Seize style effects.
Very fun. I dig it. Why not just play some Griefs? Maybe
it's a
play.
good
What if
question.
he also plays Griefs? That'd be insane. Oh my god. You have no hand ever.
And I love the choice that Isaac does have of playing this questing druid. A part of the trouble that Jun normally has is reaccruing cards, right? Just like getting raw cardboard, getting back up on card advantage. And this is kind of our first option at a Jund card that allows you to do that. But the issue is we're stuck on 2 mana and trying to fight back against the onslaught from this Yawgmoth deck.
Yes, this non-hasty Ragavan, though, might help us with a little bit of mana generation, though I doubt it's going to get through very quickly. It's, Yawgmoth is known for a lot of little guys, and Ragavan only has 1 toughness.
Right, and now we get to use the Undying from this hasted Strangleroot as our sacrifice and get in there. And very importantly noted, Isaac's deck cannot be playing Grief as we have a Gigantha companion, so we can't have that
Oh,
double B in the
there you
casting
go.
cost. But is Gigantha really worth it over Grief?
I don't know. I think a lot of people opt for Grief over Gigantha these days. Isaac down to 6 though. Lots of life lost from his own mana base, from his Thought Seizes, and the couple of little guys on Erman's side of the field.
Right, and it looks like we found our 3rd land drop and this Bowmaster to allow us to have 2 blockers. So really a good 1-2 punch out of Isaac that turn to start scraping back into this.
Yeah, shot down the Grist with the point of damage from Bowmasters and now has some blockers as well. Erman doesn't have a 4th land, or he had the Wall of Roots, which Isaac cleaned up with, but doesn't have the mana available to cast this Shouldred in his hand.
So we're sitting with this Lowly Plant and this Strangleroot and figuring out that this one Bowmaster just put up too much blocking for us and really slowed down.
Ooh, we see a lot of things turning sideways. That's a core to call in for 2.
Interesting chord for 2.
I wonder, do you get a Wall of Roots so that you can cast your Shouldred?
It could depend on if we feel the importance of that. The option is we could get another Strangleroot and keep applying the pressure here, but it looks like we're going with your wall plan. I was also wondering if we wanted to get our Blood Artist effect and just keep going to combat, being like, are you sure you want to trigger this?
I don't know. It seems really, I mean, Isaac is really low on life here. I feel like Yawgmoth, or at least for me, not having played Yawgmoth, you don't want that Blood Artist effect out unless you got the kill.
Right. But what's going to happen here is we're going to spend our whole turn and play this Shieldred, and this Unholy Heat's going to trade up and just immediately take care of this problem before any life gains or life drains.
Yes, we have Sorcery, Instant Creature, and Land in Isaac's graveyard, so the Unholy Heat is going to be doing 6 damage to whatever it targets. Now, I feel like the very simple play here was just to play the Shieldred. Erman sitting back a little bit, hesitating a bit. Maybe he...
Whatever card we drew.
Yeah. Really taking a think here.
And it looks to be 3 minutes for Eldritch Evolution.
Ooh. Let's get
Popping
that card up on the screen there, Eldritch Evolution. You sacrifice for a mana value above the creature you sacrifice.
+2 or less from that. So for here we're sacking a 0, so we can get something that costs 2, 1, or 0. I wonder, could be on the hunt for a Strangleroot, guys. Like I said, just applying as much beatdown as we can. Or Bowmaster. The best answer to a Bowmaster is a Bowmaster. Deal with yours, amass its army.
Nicely done there. Get 2 creatures for the price of 1 and take out one of your opponents.
And now remember, like I said before, Isaac has this questing druid that's going to allow them to start recouping cards.
Looking for an on the adventure token. Nicely done there. I love a Magic player that's got every single one of his game pieces.
I believe there's a Nerd Rage Gaming
there
token
is.
for
There's
being
one.
on an adventure. Maybe a Raja Sulama?
Indeed.
Who you will see again in a few days' time.
We also have a companion token coming out.
What?
Yeah.
Says who?
I won't say. That's as much spoilers as I'll give. But we do have an Inkling Customs companion token on the way.
Lovers out there.
Yeah.
As we see the cards revealed for Isaac were a new Bowmaster and this Fatal Push, really allowing us to clean up a lot of what Erman had going on. Now we get to play the Druid. This thing's going to get so big so fast.
Can we get Crusting Druid up on the screen, too, for players unaware? It's a new card out of Wilds of Eldraine, which was a set ago. It triggers off of almost every card.
Non-green, right?
Yeah.
So itself is green. It's looking for white, blue, black, or red spells. Ergo, this Fatal Push Isaac just cast, and this Unholy Heat they're about to cast, and this thing's going to become really big, really fast. And that's after being utilized the adventure side, Seek the Beast, to play those top 2 cards. So this card itself turned into 3 total cards for Isaac, if you count the creature currently in play.
Yeah, the Orc Army token will clean up the Bowmaster proper on Isaac's side of the board. I think he thought it was supposed to be dead and hit in with that. Maybe should have held it back, but gets to swing it with this Orc Army, taking Erman down to 18 to his 4. Just 4 points of life left for Isaac. That'll clean it up very quick. Except for the Heat. Won't even get to 1 draw step for Isaac.
And this Druid is now a spell away from attacking through this Wall of Roots. Oh, but this is Tarmogoyf, basically the one card that doesn't trigger our Druid. So we're gonna be able to absorb damage here, absorbing the overall 3. But now we get to slam this massive Tarmogoyf at minimum of 4/5, right? Instant sword, instant sorcery, creature,
Creature.
land, and our opponent Airmon.
The grist counts as a
There it is.
creature.
Oh no, wait, but it's still a walker, so it's 5.
It's also a walker.
Yeah. It's a creature in addition to its other types, I believe.
Okay.
So I believe we're at a 5-power Tarmogoyf and
Where's
pick up
the
Gigantha.
Tarmogoyf dice? I always put it out, and
Yeah,
it's
where is
never
it?
relevant. We have it somewhere. I don't know where it's at.
Oh,
Where's the dice box?
we're on the hunt now. This is the day. This is their moment. We picked up Gigantha. This turn we're playing Gigantha, re-triggering because while it's green, it is a red spell. So now this druid is 4 power, and we're doing the Goyf check.
Yeah, I see Isaac counting on his fingers there. He's got 4. We'll
The
see
fifth
if
one
they.
should be this grist.
Showing the grist there. That's 5.
And big combat.
Crash in with the team here. Make sure we block to absorb probably the most amount of damage here.
It looks like blocking in such a way that both of our walls survive, right? If we block the questing druid and the orc army, the only thing getting through is this big Goyf.
We were just talking about Goyf earlier today. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're seeing it on camera now.
Hey.
So many old modern cards on camera today. We've seen Snapcaster Mage, now we're seeing Tarmogoyf. Wow.
And now we're seeing this Pyrite Spellbomb, which is going to allow Isaac to both pump up their Tarmogoyf and deal 2 down damage to Armand's face. And we have the game 1 handshake. Oh my goodness. The power of this Jund Saga deck that, remember, has not seen a Saga yet, but it has not mattered when you take down game number 1.
Oh, very powerful stuff there from Isaac's deck. Let's take a look at a couple different deck lists here. I don't think either of our players submitted one, so we're grabbing them off of Goldfish.
This looks right. We saw all these cards
This
out of our
seems
Jund Saga
accurate
player.
for sure. Let's take a look at this sideboard, though. We've got possible Haywire Mites, Molten Collapse, Terminate, Engineered Explosives, Alpine Moon, Pithy Needle, Soul Guide Lantern, Stone of Eric, and 3 Besagers out of this example list.
So these bottom 4 artifact choices out of this sideboard, Pithing Needle, incredible. Allows you to shut down Yawgmoth proper, or allows you to shut down Agatha's Soul Cauldron. The Soul Guide Lanterns, these are ways to clean up graveyards. Stone of Eric shuts down Undying effects because it says if a creature would go to the graveyard, it goes to exile instead. That shuts down Undying. All of these being findable, sure, off your Urza Saga.
Fetchable,
searchable, right? Yeah, way better words there. That allows you to really have these upgrades to what you have going on. And then you may want something like a Terminate, just to be able to interact at instant speed to make sure whatever it is, it's a big yaw getting out of hand, or maybe tagging an Undying creature right before they're ready to go off. The instant speed of a Terminate might be very helpful.
Now, we didn't see it in game 1 here, but I do see it in this main board. These Ren and 6s seem pretty powerful against this Yawgmoth deck. A lot of 1 toughness creatures that you can ping with this minus from Ren and 6. And of course, the value that you gain from its uptick as well is really important.
Yes. If we end up in a long game, Yawgmoth can usually sometimes dominate with just drawing tons of cards and it's putting mopey creatures in play. But the Saga deck, taking up Ragavan, picking up a Saga that was done and start over again, and you just rinse and repeat over and over again with your Sagas, that is a true grindy late game.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at a Yawgmoth deck list as well. This will be one off Goldfish 2. So pretty stock list that we're looking at here. Although I think Airmon rocks a pretty stock list himself.
Pretty stock.
No spice going on there. You don't really need to when it's like the best deck in the format.
Right, something like that.
So let's take a look at this sideboard here. We've got Haywire Mite, Scavenging Ooze, Soulless Jailer, Fulminator Mage, Reclamation Sage, Fatal Push, Thought Seize, Terra Sunder, Force of Vigor, and Chalice of the Voids. A little bit more unsure about what the sideboard plan is here.
Thought Seizes, just to eat up your opponent's just pile of removal spells.
Fatal Push hits Goyf. It hits Questing. No, Questing Druid's 3?
Yeah, it's a 2
oh, no, it is 2? Okay,
well,
hits Ragavan.
If it was 3, it'd be in Rhinos.
Yeah.
If it was a 3, it'd be in Rhinos because its adventure is a draw 2. Oh my goodness, if it was a 3, it'd be in Rhinos. I'll tell you what.
Weird case where if a card costs more, it actually
it gets better.
It gets better.
If we do have this Reclamation Sage, there's probably a non-zero chance we bring it in because it is a 3-mana blow up on Urza Saga or blow up all the targets like Pithy Needle and so forth. So depending on how aware we are that our opponent is a Saga deck, that we didn't see it, we may bring in some of our answers to Pithy Needles just to fight back.
I don't know, because Jund Saga isn't a super played deck, and if
Our
I'm
opponent
not
just played Jund.
mistaken. That's fair. Yeah.
It was
Um.
just Jund.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect a colorless land out of this mana
No.
base.
We did not see a saga. We didn't see anything close to a saga.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big tell is like how much do you have on like the pulse of magic that people aren't just putting Pyrite Spellbomb in their deck. Right? That's the one right at the end there that I think is the real tell that our opponent is playing Urza Saga.
Absolutely. I've spoken to Airmile a little bit. I believe he is slightly newer to Modern. Started playing
Yes,
post COVID,
newish, yeah.
so maybe not as familiar. Though I don't think I
But a
would.
friend with a lot
Yeah.
of our grinders that are around here, just
Mm-hmm.
you can absorb a lot of magic being around people here.
Absolutely. Isaac will be on the play though for game 2. Oh, excuse me. He won. Airmon was on the game.
Hmm.
Was on the play there. I just missed his land drop underneath his hand there. Start a turn 2 delighted halfling this time instead of a turn 1. So a little bit behind the clock that he was in game 1.
And Ermon has a young wolf in hand that we decided not to play out here. Possibly just worried about general interaction, just not ready to lose it when it's not needed.
Does have Undyne, so even if you're scared of like a Bowmaster here, I feel like the proper play is to play it out.
The Veil of
Oh,
Summer.
we left it up
Love
for
a
a
Veil of
veil. Nicely done.
Love, love a Veil of Summer.
Sick. Great card here.
If you want to know the best card for making George DeBoer quake in his boots, it's Veil of Summer. Right? 'Cause-
I want to unbandon Pioneer
Woo!
so
Oh,
bad.
you want to keep all those angels safe. I know.
I feel like George would quit Pioneer if Veil of Summer became legal.
Wow, we get to tag this Grist here with this Thoughtseize and leave Ermine with 3 lands Young Wolf. Poopy. That is not. That is like.
It's
So
stinky.
the thing about the Yawgmoth deck is this is like 52 pretty not great cards
Mhm.
for Grist for Yawg, right?
Yeah.
And the second you're stuck with the plan of I have a bunch of lands and the little guys,
Mhm.
that is not a game plan anymore.
Here's Isaac's first Urza Saga of the match. We'll play a Soul Guide Lantern, which will be a nice little bit of graveyard hate there for him.
And we're eating the Grist so that future Cauldrons cannot. So we're going to start there first from the ETB effect off that Soul Guide Lantern.
Absolutely. Leave that Veil in there. I don't think there's anything in Airmon's deck that
No.
interacts with anything non-creature in his graveyard.
And just in case, it kind of lets your opponent be the one to have the incident yard if something happens to your Fatal Push.
Swing in with the Mana Dork here. Do a point of damage. 20 to 14 will be our life totals.
Maybe the thing Delight Halfling does worst. Like, it is not an attacker. They made this thing a 1-2, but boy, is that not its job.
All right, we're looking for some really good top decks here. I don't think a land will be it, though. Crash in again.
Oh, and we have a chatter making a very important point. We had that Veil. We could have used the Veil to keep ourselves safe and keep those cards in hand, and we instead used it to keep our Halflings safe. With a hand full of lands, we may have wanted to protect our hand instead.
Yeah, because I think we're burning out pretty quickly here. We're just in top deck mode, unfortunately.
This deck top decks so badly.
It really
Yawgmoth
does.
is good, but its top decks are atrocious.
There are some cards besides the 8 creatures we're looking for. We could find a Chord of Calling.
Which is
to
just
grab
more
here.
copies of your good cards,
Right,
right?
yeah, or Eldritch Evolution as well.
Yeah, a deck designed to find the good ones.
Yeah.
But when you're like on turn 5 and your opponent is like really like chugging through this saga and you draw Young Wolf, you're like, oh no, not like this.
So we'll get 2 constructs here. Fetch with this Urza Saga on Chapter 3 and the grab. Put a Stone of Eric to the top, checking the rest of his deck just to make sure, but I think that is going to be the play here.
So good here. Remember, a very important part of this stone, I believe, is if a creature would die, it gets exiled instead, just nullifying all parts of the Undying text.
Absolutely. I think we're going to grab the text exactly here.
If a creature and opponent would die, exile instead, and if you get deep in the game that doesn't matter anymore, you can cash this in for a card.
Yeah, pretty good board state for Isaac here. He's got 4 artifacts on the field, so these are 4/4s as opposed to a 1/1. And
we have 2 more artifacts in hand. We're allowed. These things are going to get big.
Oh man. Doing a quick read here with the stone. Crazy that he's drawn 2 more Urza Saga targets in his hand.
Yeah, and Ermon here, big mana. It's Chord time.
For 4.
And I wonder if this is a Desperation Shieldred or if we're gonna try to get something going with the Yawgmoth.
Oh, it is gonna be the Shouldred. You only get no, because you can still with the Young Wolf, you can still generate value with the Yawg.
Well, what's gonna happen is we're gonna go to Isaac's turn, and in Isaac's upkeep, they're gonna terminate the Shieldred, and not a trigger will happen.
Not a single one.
Not a one.
Yeah, I think I like Yawg better here just because you can actually get some value out of it before it dies.
Right, but then we lose the only creatures we have, and they don't even have Undying.
Oh, right, because the stone's in
Mm-hmm.
play. Yeah. Yeah.
Isaac
Just
is
in a rough spot here.
squeezing more and more.
Absolutely. Well said.
And now Isaac finally able to replace that Saga and get back up to their third land here off this fetch. Most likely going to play out one of the two artifacts in our hand and just continue a huge beatdown with what might be 5/5s.
We got this Pithy Needle, too, that we can play preemptively.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a bad play. This Pirate Spellrun's probably the better play.
And
Oh, no.
I wonder if we name Grist or like a card that's a little more relevant than Yawgmoth proper, or we might just name the namesake card just to make sure we've got it all locked down.
Yeah, I think Questing Druid is the other card in hand? No.
We have Pyrite Spellbomb and the Goyf.
The Goyf.
Tarmogoyf, and that's the game.
2 quick games for John Sagavan
I mean,
there. Sweeping Yawgmoth, one of the top tier decks in the meta, quickly and easily, I'd say.
Yeah, the power of Thoughtseize really stripped away very important cards from Ramon. A lot of just difficulty to chug back into the game. Yawgmoth does not top deck very well. It gave Isaac just enough time to make these massive threats.
No, great games there, though. We're going to head into our backup match here. We've got the 0-1 bracket in the building. Alexander Luke versus Brendan Spear. We got 8-Rack versus Murktide.
That's right. We said it. 8-Rack.
8-Whack.
Oh, Rack. This is Rack. This is... The whacking is the goblins. The racking is the making you discard the cards.
I think Alex also plays that as
Yeah.
well. He's also got 8-Whack in his forte.
And we have
Or
this
his
beautiful...
retinue,
This
whatever.
beautiful Murktide deck sleeved in these craft singles. Just loving it. Looks like we've done a lot of interacting here. Life totals 14 for Alex, 11 for Brendan. Trying to scrape together the Murktide thing, but Liliana of the Veil pretty good at stripping cards away from you.
Indeed. Indeed. Should we go over the 8-Rack game plan real quick for those unaware?
I want to make you discard your cards. So effects like Liliana, effects like Thoughtseize proper, maybe going so far as Raven's Crimes. Then the racks themselves are cards that deal damage when your opponent has very few cards in hand. This Ragavan's getting way in there. I was wondering, because if we have this Ragavan sent to Liliana of the Veil, we have a Bolt in hand, and we've been kind of trade like a card and a turn of Ragavan to deal with this Liliana.
Dothy Voidwalker will be the card Ragavan rips off the top there.
Oh, when we're a blue-red deck against a mono-black deck, it's so hard to cast their spells. Oh, we can't do this. We just cast this Dothy off a island in a steam vents.
Yeah. Can we go grab them real quick just to make sure?
Oh, there's an Urborg and play it.
Never
Urborg
mind.
alert. Urborg alert, everybody. We have, hey, Urborg, all lands are swamps. That means this Dothy, easy peasy cast.
Very
and we
legal
need to
play.
keep our treasure. And I was going to say, right, it's difficult to snatch cards from mono black deck, but not if they fix your mana for you.
There you go. Just 2 cards in hand for Brendan, showing that Alex has done some work ripping cards out. He's got a pretty heavy graveyard there full of goodies.
But Alex's hand is Shieldred, Shriekmaw, and an Undying effect. Maybe you know them from the scam decks, which allow us to hold this up and protect whatever creature Brendan's going to try to deal with.
Play the Shouldred main phase 1, crash in for a couple points of damage there. Bring Brendan down to 9, pass it back, and take 2 more from the Shouldred.
Shieldred trigger going down to 7. And we see our Murktide player on the right side here. Looks like they did take down game 1. So Alex scraping here to get this game number 2 to get the chance at playing the game number 3.
Hopefully we get to take a look at his deck list here as well. He did submit one, so we'll be able to look at that if he is able to take the win under Brendan here.
See, and now we have this difficult choice. What I would actually kind of love is dash in this Ragavan, right? And if Alex blocks it with his Shieldred, going like, haha, free block, Bolt kills off this Shieldred. And Shieldred's kind of the most important card in play right now.
Indeed.
And if they don't block it, you get a Ragavan trigger. Like, that's just kind of free. And with your opponent being at 12, like, you're not that far away from figuring things out here.
Just play out a Dragon's Rage Channeler to begin. We'll
And
bolt
bolt
the
the Liliana.
Lily. Also a strong play here.
Right, just trading it off for whatever relevant pieces from Alex's deck we can.
Trigger Surveil on the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Pitch a Preordain.
I
I
see
don't
a
know,
dress
that
down
card's
in there.
not bad. But why cast the Preordain when we can just get to the
Just get
cards
to the next
under it
one.
anyway?
And there might be something Brendan specifically on the hunt for. Maybe something like a Murktide try to take this game down before Shieldred takes them down.
Of course, Shieldred's good for Alex on his side of the field as well. He's going to draw go up 2 life, bringing us to 14 to 17.
Alex. Alex now has 2 Undying effects in hand to go alongside the Shriek Maw. They're going to pay full retail, 5 mana for an old school evoke creature, and we're going to take out this DRC.
Lots of old school cards tonight. I love
Yeah,
it.
no
I
joke.
love it.
We've so far seen Snapcaster Mages, Tarmogoyfs, Jund, Shriek Maws, but they're playing alongside the bangers of this year of like cards like Shieldred and Bowmasters.
The old with the new.
Oh, an Otawara.
An Otawara?
I think that was my last chance. Rip this off the table.
Yeah, I don't know what you're really hoping to find there anyway. Well, we'll go to a game 3 here and we'll
I
be able to take
think-
a look at Alex's deck list here.
Just making sure. I'm pretty sure these players look like they're getting ready for game number 3. But this kind of looks like face-up unboardings.
It does. It does.
And we're just going to go check with these players real quick. 8 rack deck. So cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up his deck list here.
We're gonna get a quick peek while these.
Although I don't
players
think
get everything.
he loaded it up actually. I don't know.
Well, there's have
Well,
to do some
we'll
more
see.
winning, and we'll find it
Yeah.
later in the day.
Alex took it down there.
Perfect. So we decided to flip flopped. Alex had a game number 1, took it down there in game number 2, and that'll be it for this round number 2. Might take a little peek skidoo at something before we head on out of here. What are we looking
Yeah,
at?
if you're looking to purchase any of the cards that you saw in any of our matches tonight, head on over to nerdragegaming.com. We have thousands of cards in our inventory just looking for a home. Come and buy them. You can pick them up in store or have them shipped countrywide. We're also adding more cards every day, so if you see a card that is not in our inventory, add to your wish list and get notified right away when we're listing them because we're listing more cards every single day. We also have a fantastic rewards loyalty program. The more you spend, the more you save, so check out nerdragegaming.com. With that being said, though, we're going to head into a break before we pick out our round 3 features. Stay tuned.
See y'all soon.
Welcome back, folks. We're in round 3 of 4 here. We got the classic Adam on the main feature because he's going to go fast. We're playing with our initial hands here. We got Jovan and Harden Scales. I think he's usually a Murktide player, but has been digging the Scales deck recently.
Been scaling for a couple weeks, and they're the only person here who knows how to do the math. So
I refuse to learn. I won't do it.
Now is not the time to refuse that. We're about to find out.
I know. I'm about to be forced to do it. So we'll see who's on the play here. It's going to be Adam.
No creature on turn 1, so that means flurry of burn spells as we see 2
Oh
bolts,
boy, oh
2
boy.
bolts, 2 Boros charms, and something on the far left. This might not take too long.
It usually doesn't. Adam rocking his new flex slot jersey as well.
Eidolon of the Great Revel against Scales. Oh my gosh, this card's such a good card to return for Adam.
Indeed, he added it to his deck a couple of weeks ago, and it's been doing work. It is really good. It's going to be great against this deck as well.
Yeah. Oh, the double saga draw to Jovan. Interesting.
Oh boy, oh boy. Adam queuing.
Adam just hovering over life totals. Oh, good. I'm not missing this trigger.
It'll be a Patchwork Automaton is the card.
But Adam's follow-up is a bolt and 2 Boros charms. Like, we're ready to let the flurry go.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of damage in our hand right now.
Our full art Searing Blaze for whatever creature Jovan thinks is their follow-up.
We got the fetch in the ready here.
We'll probably go find a Zabaz here with this land going off mode number 3. Just to start getting the aggro creature beats.
Floating the mana before it resolves at chapter 3.
But it's Shadow Spear because we need life. And this Patchwork is getting Glease help us gain a little bit of it back.
We have enough mana to equip the Shadow Spear here.
But Adam has enough mana to bolt and pay for the ward.
Yeah. Oh, the ward. Gotta remember that.
Yeah, the Patchwork really gets you with the ward.
Carplusion Force will be land for turn.
And we're equipping it up. Yep, no response just yet.
Any protection spells in a main board for Hardened Scales? Ooh.
Well, I'm listening for 0 because we need to make this thing just a little bit bigger.
In response to growing the Patchwork, I think we're going to kill with the Searing Blaze landfall trigger here.
We can't with Searing Blaze. We have to do it with Bolt, pay for Ward. Ward 2 on this Patchwork Automaton.
Oh, Ward 2.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Wait.
I thought it was Ward 1.
Might as well be Hexproof, but 2 is the most I'm willing to pay for a Ward. So.
Crazy. I once paid for a Ward 3 for a Hall of Storm Giants. That was a bad game.
Oh, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That was a rough game.
Hall. As Adam, yep. And very importantly, make Jovan announce their trigger. We announce the ward, pay for the
Hmm.
2. Smart play, smart play. Remember your own Eidolon and go down to 17. But now we're untapping with 2 Boros Charms in hand.
We're almost there. We can swing with this Eidolon as well. We just need one more point of damage.
Right, we can poke through with this, going to 9. Well, the last points of damage is Jovan casting any spell for the rest of the game.
There you go.
Wowzers. We talked bad about Eidolon for so long, especially in a Beans world, realizing that post Beans, these decks are getting cheap, and this card is doing a lot of damage.
Once Beans was banned, these decks got a lot lower to the ground. And
Everyone.
Adam made good work of it with this Eidolon inclusion.
I can imagine this deck against Yawgmoth, triggering off so many of their cards against
Mhm.
this Scales deck.
Oh,
Rhino.
the Haywire might be the only out. No, because
It's gonna.
you don't cast it.
No, but it wishes it could block, but Adam's not going to go into combat with this thing.
No. We'll see a checklist card here. Not
For probably
checklist
the
card.
pathway. Yep.
That's what I call it.
Use this
And-
Hilper card, show off this pathway. And Adam is going to be, oh, you cast a spell? That's game.
Yep.
Yeah, a very important thing, too, that this Haywire Mite cannot eat the Eidolon because it can't target creatures. So Adam just going through the motions, but that is the game, right? Jovan knew going down
I
to
think
3 that any card from Adam spelled doom.
Yep. So Adam will take down game 1 there. As is usual, we'll go into sideboards here and throw up some deck lists for you to look at.
We're going to check on what flex slots our players have in their decks today.
Indeed. Adam's got his typical deck. We've seen him use a bunch now. This 5 3-ofs. Strict Proctor, Path to Exile, Exquisite Firecraft, Wear Tear, and Roiling Vortex.
Wear Tears, Path to Exiles.
Yep, seem like pretty strong
Yep.
and easy sideboards here.
Path mostly for if Jovan's creatures get way out of hand, right? Once they have 4+ power, the burn spells don't answer them anymore. Especially a card even like trying to boot up an Ink Moth, we just might need to use these Path to Exiles to make sure that we stay alive just long enough. And we even saw Adam already start taking a controlling role in that game 1. And I imagine that to stay the same.
Let's take a look at a Hardened Scales list as well. This is just one off of Goldfish. Pretty stock list here. Let's see what they're working with in their sideboard. Haywire Mite, Natural State, Tameo Safekeeping, Chalice of the Void, Graft Digger's Cage, Pithy Needle, Damping Sphere, Void Mirror, and the One Ring.
Haywire Mite, block, try to gain some life in the early
Sick.
game against these creatures. I don't see it here in this sideboard, but this one here has Natural State. But there's the other version of this card that you will open an artifact and that player gains 4 life. If that's the one that we have access to in our deck, we're going to want that. Hit our own cards just to go up against this burn deck. But other than that, a lot of the cards in the sideboard are for other matchups. Not a lot of folks respect burn out there in these parts, not on Moto and so forth, but you should definitely do so in this room.
Yeah, if you've been playing at this store for any amount of time, you should learn to respect burn.
Yeah,
Adam's out here week after week slinging spells and killing fools.
I usually put at least like 2 cards on my board that just have Adam's name written on them.
Yeah, just sign on top of the inner sleeve.
Make
just
Adam sign
for
my
Adam.
helixes.
Yeah.
These are for you.
All right, as we head into game 2 here and players draw up their opening 7s, Jovan will be on the play here.
Adam, looks like we might have a new fresh sideboard card that we brought in is an Engineered Explosives.
Oh.
Allowing us to maybe put that on 0 or 1 and clean up a lot of Jovan's cards. Kind of acting as a mini board wipe and most likely in our deck as a response to Rhinos and it being an uptick in popularity and just getting a lot of splash damage here with using it against Jovan.
Splash damage.
Yeah, kind of when you have a sideboard card for a certain matchup and then realize just how important it's going to be in another matchup as well.
Taking a peek at Jovan's starting hand here. I think I saw an Agatha Soul Cauldron, couple lands there. Not sure what else he's working with. Walking Ballista as well. Shadow Spear. Tameo Safekeeping, I think I saw a hint.
Yep, the protection spell to try to keep any of our permanents alive.
Great starting 7. Love it when you see sideboard cards come right out.
Right. My question is this Soul Cauldron. I feel like we just don't have that kind of time when we play against Burn.
That's a good point.
But I wonder, Jovan a little smarter than me. It might be a part of doing the real quick, 1-2 kills. That it might be just worthwhile for having kind of a pseudo combo possibility.
Adam's sitting and thinking a little bit on which card to tuck for his starting 6. Jovan will start us off with an Urza Saga as his land for turn. Really, the only deck you see that starts with the Urza Saga for their first land.
If your Amulet opponent does it, you're dead.
Oh, really?
You're dead.
Interesting.
Because that's a turn 3 Saga guarantee. Or turn 3 Amulet guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the start, be on the lookout. As you open here, playing out a Welding Jar and a 1/1 Hangerback Walker. Well, this is just kind of stuff, but not exactly anti-burn stuff.
Not quite. This Rift Bolt will come off suspend and go somewhere as well. Finish shuffling up here. Classic Modern. Lots of shuffling in the starting turns.
Yeah,
Even for a burn
yeah,
player.
if you don't like the shuffle, this ain't for you.
That's why I switched to Pioneer. It's the great thing. Fetches are banned.
I heard those rounds are a lot faster.
They are. It's fantastic.
But thankfully we have George DeBoer to go to time, so that won't be the case no matter which NRG tournament you're at. Adam here with a Flurry. I at least see Bolt Proper, a Skewer the Critics, I believe a Searing Blaze, at least a land to help trigger that in this Arid Mesa per turn.
Lava Spike as well, that second card there.
Oh, Spike? I think we're just starting to count to 20. Skewer you thanks to this Rift Bolt.
Skewer, still deciding where to go.
Yep.
We'll throw it at the face there.
And then a quick
Fetch and
move
Searing
here,
Blaze, I think.
as we see going for another basic mountain here. Adam also needs to be aware, of their own life total. No need to fetch shock if you don't need to, because the scales can do a lot of damage very quickly.
I think one shock is usually fine. I'm wondering if he's got a white source in his hand that I didn't spot earlier.
And we need just to unlock cards like our Boros Charms, Wear Tears. A lot of the sideboard cards may be white.
We'll just do a Lava Spike at the face. Put Jovan down to 11 to Adam's 18. Let him keep his creature for now. Float the mana with the Urza Saga, and we'll grab a Springleaf Drum.
Last cards for Adam look to be Lightning Bolt, Searing Blaze, and Arid Mesa. So kind of the perfects for cleaning up whatever's left over for Jovan. Kind of just looking for one or two more burn spells off the top.
The Springleaf Drum is a good replacement from the Urza Saga because you do go down in mana there, but that Springleaf brings you back up at least a bit and allows you to use your summoning sick creatures to provide you some mana there. Walking Ballista for 1 will be the spell from Jovan.
I said it before, I'll say it again. This is a bunch of stuff from Jovan, none of it feeling relevant even a little bit right now.
Yeah, we need a way to grow these creatures.
Adam, you can't top deck Boros Charm like that.
He can't keep getting away with it.
No, because now we're up to 10 damage just floating in our hand, understanding that we're 1 point away, which could be Jovan using his Carpolution Forest.
All our spells are instants, though, so we'll just sit tight for a second, let Jovan present a threat first.
Arcbound Ravager, this is a possible scary one.
This one can grow fast if you leave it untouched.
But the thing is, if I'm Adam, I also know that I'm kind of a top deck away from taking this game. So we're going to fetch here, turn on our Searing Blaze, right? And it's 3 damage mode, so it's 1 damage mode. And we might clean up some of these creatures, possibly the Ballista, before Jovan will have a chance to eat them up with this Ravager.
Remind me the exact text on Ravager. You can sacrifice an artifact?
To put a counter on it.
And
then it's got Modular 1. Allowing it to enter with a counter, and then when it leaves, move that counter around. Move all the counters around, not just the one it starts with.
Right.
So it snacks on a bunch, makes itself real big, and then moves all those counters over to something impactful, say a Walking Ballista or a Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, throw those artifacts in the grinder.
Yeah, just chuck them in there. Here, use this chance for the Searing Blaze.
Before we can throw anything in the Ravager, it's still on the stack. We're going to Searing Blaze one of these 2 creatures. What are you more scared of here, Dom?
I just don't want the Ballista in play. But the issue is if we deal with the Ballista and Jovan gets access to a Soul Cauldron, any of these things become a Ballista, including the Inkmoth Nexus. You do not want a card with Infect gaining Ballista's ability because that changes the math quickly.
All right, with the Searing Blaze on the stack as well, we're going to make some mana ourselves, tick up the Hangerback Walker.
We're going to activate Hangerback by using the Ballista, so that means this will make an additional Thopter, which now means
you get 2 1/1 Thopters.
Yep, so this is 2 pieces of food if the Arcbound's looking to eat. And Adam, head in hands, but a card away from finishing off the flurry of burn.
I think he recognizes how quickly he could be dead here as well.
Uh-huh.
Yovan's representing a lot of potential damage here on his side of the board.
You have to be very, very careful against scales. Because it looks like a lot of nothings, and it becomes one big something, and you're done.
Yeah, because even if Adam tries to remove the Arcbound Ravager at this point, Yovan's got priority windows to grow it out of his reach.
Mm-hmm. And now we're using our last mana here on Yovan's end step for a bolt. Upstairs, down to 5.
Yeah, I think you played your
Burn
outs here.
spell,
Hope
burn
to rip
spell.
something off the top. Here it is.
And, yep.
Oh, it's an islet, which
Yeah.
is a draw. It's not the worst
Oh.
land to hit.
Not quite. You got halfway. It's a Scalding Tarn.
Oh, no!
Not going to cycle through that one.
Definitely not a good land here.
But now if Jovan makes any mistakes, just takes a single point of damage. We've got 4.
This Carplusion Forest, if he uses it for color mana, that would put him.
Right. So
I think Jovan's heads up of enough player.
And we have the Springleaf Drum, so if we're that desperate for colored mana, we can find it somewhere else. Ooh, skin of our teeth, because this could get very big very fast. And here's the Cauldron, a part of the reason I didn't want to shoot this Ballista. It's very scary to turn everything into ballistas.
Yeah, you either feed him to the grinder that is Arcbound Ravager, or you put him in the soup.
Right, because remember, Jovan also gets to just attack here, right? So all these creatures get to plunk in and deal their 1 points of damage, each of them. But them all together is 4 damage. Taking Am down to 10. Then the question is how many of these artifacts do I need to eat to just finish the game with this ballista?
Dude, I can feel the tension on both these players right now. They know that there's a lot of micro decisions here that could decide the game.
Well, what Jovan can do is eat 2 of their artifacts in this, at least in this drum. Maybe the Soul Cauldron. Wow, we didn't eat anything. Because I was wondering we could pump up the Ravager, deal extra damage in combat, and then move all those counters over to the Ballista and try to finish the game.
Indeed.
I think both Jovan is playing around Adam's last card being one that can remove their creatures. And it looks like we're going back. We haven't taken the damage yet. Jovan's doing the math.
Adam passed priority to go to damage. Jovan is going to opt to use his priority window here.
Because we can use the Soul Cauldron to eat our walker and then eat the Cauldron itself. Jovan moving very quickly now. Because remember, this equals more damage dealt in combat itself, but then all these counters can move to the Ballista post-combat. So
throw the Cauldron in there too.
So this is 7, 8 damage, and then all 7 of those move to the Ballista and shoot for the game. That's game. We did the math. It's done here.
That's skills math, baby. Woo!
That's
my
skills.
Gosh.
Combined with combat, right? That's the hard part is even when you do the count and you figure out these are my numbers, you have to remember that they can just attack in. So in this case, the Ravager dealing 7 points of damage in combat and then all of it being thrown by that Ballista.
Yeah, you don't need any mana to remove counters from Ballista. It's so good.
And this looks to be exactly the 14 that it takes to take Adam out of this game.
Yeah, counting up the mana because it is very important here to make sure we are accurate. Bring those Thopters back.
A very important just doing the count. Just make sure. Because I think even a point that was missed is we could have used the Soul Cauldron, eaten a card, and got an additional 1/1 counter there. But Jovan moved very quick once we figured out that we had the lethal.
All right, we'll go to a game 3 here in our feature match.
And see, this is exactly what I said. It looked like Jovan had a lot of nothing, wasn't interacting with the burn plan in any way, and instead, in a moment, flipped the script and acted their own plan and ended the game on the spot.
Yeah, I think the only reason Scales isn't more popular is because
so
people are
hard.
intimidated by it.
Yes.
It's not something you pick up and you play right away. You
Like, I
got to
think this
do the
card's
reps early on, and then once you get the engine, you know exactly how all the pieces work together and synergize, then you can become proficient with it pretty quickly. But that floor, I feel like, is pretty high.
And the deck is good.
Yeah, we saw it there. Do its stuff really well.
But learning the deck is hard.
Yeah, definitely not the deck for me. I took my math classes in school, and I don't want to do it in my free time.
That's the hard part, right? Is this definitely just appeals to some people that like doing the puzzle.
Yeah.
I said that's a lot of the reason why Titan also applies to people. Some people are out here to solve the puzzle. And that's, I think, a big part of Scales is that Jovan put all those pieces together, went to attack, went, hold on 1 second, solved the puzzle and went, this is it. flurried out through all the moves, showed it piece by piece by piece, and took it down there with an Exacxes flurry for the 14 damage. And now we're starting game number 3.
Yep. Quick keys from both of our players there. Neither of them sideboarded at all in between games 2 and 3.
No need.
Off the races here. Adam's on the play.
But a basic fountain. Ready to.
You think we'll see either of these decks in our championship event this weekend, Dom?
Burn? No.
I don't think we'll see Burn. I think
Scales? Maybe.
Maybe.
Uh.
For those of you unaware, we do have our championship event for the NRG series this Saturday and Sunday. Tune in for our 16-player, $25,000 invitational over at twitch.tv/NRG series.
I think if you gave me a chance,
Mm-hmm.
I could get 12 out of 16 of the Champs Players Modern decks guessed correctly.
Really? That's quite the claim.
Yeah.
I could fact check you on some of them right now. I don't know if everyone's submitted yet. The deadline is midnight tonight.
Oh, coming real close on it. I think a lot of the players, it's an important event, are going to play probably like, I would imagine like 3, 4, maybe 5 decks among the whole event. I think it's going to concentrate a lot on people playing stuff like Rhinos.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some meta calls to be made in such a small event, a
Mhm.
16-player event, and we saw that a lot last year. Players that did not adapt for the meta suffered a lot.
Burn is a deck that could be registered by a player who doesn't play Modern in any way, shape, or form, maybe qualified in a Pioneer event or a Legacy event, what could be, and just needs to make sure they have a deck to fill out the amount of rounds they need to play there. Burn and Tron are kind of the decks where it's like, I'm not quite sure, but I know how to make this do its thing. So there's a chance maybe a person could play Burn if they're like, I just don't know, but I can get it over quickly.
Yeah, I will let our viewers at home know that Eric Berthart qualified in the team trios in the Legacy spot, is playing Modern tonight. He did ask not to be on stream.
Got to keep it secret.
Gotta
important
keep
event.
that info quiet for the championship event this weekend. But he is here practicing tonight.
And a lot of local players helping them scrape cards together to get everything for the event.
Yes, he had to
You gotta
build
love it.
3 decks. Legacy is not a format in our championship event. So
One of my cards will be being played in their decks. Like, we scraped together as much as we possibly could.
yes, teamwork makes the dream work. Back down to our game at hand, though. Life totals are 13 to 16 here. Adam playing burn spells as he does. We got a welding jar,
Down
hanger
to
back
9,
walker,
down to 6.
and a hardened scales on Jovan's side of the field.
Adam's got a land that can cycle in play and a land that can cycle in hand, and 1 mystery card they're keeping hidden from us just for now. Jovan is on the clock.
No Eidolon, so he's free to play his spells here. Walking Ballista, cast for 1, enter with 2 with the hardened scales in play. We'll see a Springleaf Drum as another spell. So we got 1 mana open, even though we're tapped out. Back to Adam's turn here.
Big rips for Adam. That's inspiring range. We're going to cycle this away quickly. We've got a 1-man burn spell. Another land on top.
Ooh. This is not what you want to see here.
It's entering hard mode here now. We have the spike, the ability to put our opponent down to 3. Cycle and find another. Yeah. Yeah, Adam's been here before.
Oh, the heartbreak. Oh, man. Just doing whatever you can, and sometimes your deck just isn't nice to you.
Arcbound Ravager, not a good sign, not a good sign.
Oh, no.
Jovan could not be moving quicker.
Yep. Smells the blood in the water here.
We have at least 4 damage on combat. We can make that far more with the use of this Ravager. We're going to activate the hanger back. That means we're going to have 4 counters that we move, become 5, make 4 1/1s, going to munch all those up, move over to Ballista. You can see the speed that's happening here, because each of these Thopters we puts 2 counters on this Arcbound Ravager. And then all those counters are going to move over to the Walking Ballista and are going to most likely spell Doom for Adam Weiss.
Yeah, the Walking Ballista came into
Because now this
came on the
Ballista can just
battlefield
attack.
last turn. Yeah, so you swing, do the damage, and then do the damage again when the counters come out. 3 lands in his hand, and one too few burn spells. That's not it. There it is.
2
oh,
life
but
gain
it's a
spells in
Rift
hand
Bolt
for Jovan too.
Wow. Multiple turns away for Adam there. Unfortunately, he just could not get there with the lands off the top. Jovan will take it down in 3. A quick feature match there. Don't worry. We've got a backup match for you here. Marty versus Brian. Another Flexop player in the building. Rhinos versus Shardless Ring. We see 2 endurances on the field here. Unusually, usually,
Hmm.
usually see two Rhinos, but we've got two Elementals instead.
And we're in a post-board game here. Rhinos most likely boarded in these endurances. We talked about this in the last round,
Mm-hmm.
or in the first round, most likely for two reasons. One, it just has the word flash, and two, allows you to cycle Rhinos back into your deck to play the long game.
Indeed, we'll see a Solitude on Brian's side of the field. Excuse me. And he did win game one here, so Marty will be on the back foot.
And
Quick
the Elder
trades.
Deep Friend off this Solitude.
Brian's
Tap down
favorite card.
possibly all of the available untapped source from Marty that aren't this Scalding Tarn. And now Marty is incentivized to use his mana, one of which is a Tidebinder, and we can counter this trigger, but a very important thing here.
Mm-hmm.
So the Elder Deep Fiend, I believe, is a cast trigger.
Yeah.
And the what's it called? The Tidebinder locks down. It says that permanent. So what happens is, because the Deep Fiend is on the stack, it isn't a permanent when the ability happens, and it will resolve and have all of its abilities still. But you do get to counter the trigger while it's on the stack.
Interesting.
The same thing happens with Emrakul, the Promised End. You get the extra turn, but they'll still get the giant 13/13 flyer. Yeah, it's coming up.
Marty channeled an Odawara, and it was just stifled by a Chana's
By a Tidebinder.
I didn't even think you could do that.
It's the activated ability of the land.
That's crazy. The
Yes.
great thing about the Kamigawa lands is that they're basically uncounterable, but they're not
anymore.
unstifleable. Insane. This card keeps getting better.
Yes, like we said, every time you see a Tidebinder in play, it'll probably do something new.
That's great. I love it so much. The utility. Wow.
And now this Elder Deep Fiend is just the biggest thing that we have going on.
Mm-hmm. It's got a big bite. It's a 5/6, I believe.
I did joke about it last week that I think Brian should shift to playing the Crashing Footfalls in their Cascade package here. But I also think there's a non-zero chance that Rhinos should try out the Deep Friends.
Really?
You can like flash in your Subtlety and eat that and do this. You can eat a Tidebinder that's not doing something. You could do it off this Endurance. You could just cash in whatever you've got floating around. And a 5/6 is huge.
Huge. It's bigger than a 4/4.
Yeah, much bigger than your 4/4s. And I imagine it's got to be a good mirror breaker if you're ending up in a situation where you're in a place that's popular with other Rhinos players. 5/6, just big. Much bigger than the 4/4.
See a Fire and Ice come down from Brian here. Gonna tap some mana, looks like.
Interesting. These players are going to have a lot of cards similar because they're both engaged in the Cascade package. You're going to see stuff like these Fire Ices out of both players. Cards that allow you cheap early interaction while still being within your requirements for the Cascade packages.
Right. You want to hit one specific thing, so you don't want any other cards that mess that up.
And Marty, looks like we might be using this time to try to get more Rhinos in play.
Sure, why not? See a Violent Outburst hit the field. There it is. And another Tidebinder.
To counter the Cascade trigger, and now no Rhinos are coming. Two incredible interactions for these Tidebinders that we convinced Brian to pick up last week.
And a Tidebinder of himself.
Because we're going to counter the trigger that's trying to counter the trigger. And now Brian's copy of Tidebinder is now locked down by Marty's Tidebinder. Not that any of its text matters.
Right.
But it is technically locked down. And you see Marty looks like we brought in Blood Moon for this matchup. You can see Brian's mana base would not have been happy to see that.
Not at all. These Mystical Disputes as well look like a sideboard card to me too.
Right. We see Brian with one of each basic, but cards like Deep Fiend, Solitude, they need multiple colors of mana, and we still could have locked down quite a few cards. And now?
Yes, I don't think we're seeing it's colorless usually, but Brian almost always casts it for the Emerge, which requires Simic mana.
It just requires blue.
Now, it's double blue?
Yeah, it's
oh,
double
excuse
blue.
me. I thought it was green-blue.
Oh, it's Omnath.
Oh, and Marty takes a hot lean to the side here. That is a card for sure.
There was a time when Yorion was legal that people were playing 80-card Rhinos with like 12 Cascade spells and Omnath in their Rhinos deck.
Wow.
So sometimes the past comes back to haunt you, and now playing against the Omnath.
Yeah, lots of bodies on Brian's side of the field here.
Brian Tepper has drawn a Nexus of Fate.
Oh,
Are you aware of
oh.
this banned card from Pioneer Nexus of Fate?
I'm not. I play Pioneer. It's banned.
7 mana instant. Take an extra turn, shuffle this into your deck. So it combines alongside the power of drawing all these cards with your ring.
Mm-hmm.
You could end up in a scenario where your opponent does not take any more turns.
All right. First, we'll see the Shardless Agent, though.
Wow, Brian.
With the Cascade trigger on the stack, Marty is going to respond here with
Mhm.
another Tishanas. We saw one go past with the Violent Outburst, but he managed to find a third.
An important aspect of this Nexus of Fate being in Brian's hand too is you as a player make a lot of decisions. You're attacking and blocking based on thinking you're going to get the turn back after that. So Brian just going, this is a time warp, I'm going to take another turn after this, can really throw off a lot of the math that Marty might do when blocking or deciding on who they're attacking with.
Yeah, attacking is a little rough here. Both of these boards are pretty clogged, but Brian's starting to go wide here.
Brian has the 5/6, so they've got the biggest thing to be able to start trying to attack in with.
Mm-hmm.
And Marty's at 13, so they're going to have to block if you start throwing these things out there. They have to be careful to not die on the crackback.
He does. Does he know about the Nexus of Fate though? You could block
Who knows?
suboptimally here and then just get wrecked in the next combat as well.
We're attempting a
One
ring, getting hit here
ring.
by a force.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Ooh, an Elishnor, Mother of Machines, also sitting in Brian's hand.
A card just so big. A 4/7 blocks these Rhinos like nobody's business.
I think probably here to double Brian's things more than
Mhm.
shut down his opponent's triggers.
Right, a card that you don't exactly want against Rhinos, but it's much better now with Subtlety, Tidebinder, Endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is huge. It's just
Yeah.
very good for blocking. And Marty, with these two wizards in play, has drawn a Flame of Venor. And is going to be able to get 2 modes on this. Which could be kill
five
Omnath, draw 2
damage.
cards.
Yeah, I was about to say you got 5 damage. Doesn't get the Elder Deep Fiend. Does get the Omnath. I think drawing here probably stronger.
If you really want, you can shatter and kill the Shardless Agent if you just want to get bodies off the table.
We'll see here.
Or we're going to do the last 5 points to this Deep Fiend, trade off in combat with this Rhino. And then we might just be drawing cards so that we can stay on the overall card advantage on Brian.
Thinking while still on the stack here. We're going to let this Flame of Nor resolve. So Marty did choose Draw 2 as his other mode. Clean up the Fiend there. Take 4 from the unblocked Rhino. Go down to 13 to 7 as life totals.
And Marty with exactly 4 mana up and has drawn a Subtlety. So going to be able to try to answer most creatures or walkers that Brian tries to play next turn.
In his end step, though, we are going to cast
I
a
think this
Fire and
Fire
Ice
Ice-
is coming down.
We might just use it to kill a Tidebinder. Or just tapping down the Triumph, just picking a target, cycling through this card.
Interesting. I feel like maybe you just tap down a creature here. Potentially start swinging.
But we're getting access to this Elishnorn. Marty's going to have to crack both of these fetch lands. May have
Get
a
some-
basic to find with one of them, but definitely not both of them. So we're going to take some points of damage here to answer this Elishnorn.
Red, and you gotta find an island. You need 2 blue
Oh,
here.
Mountain Island, we're
There
good.
you go.
I don't recommend playing a mountain, but they do have one, so that's going to allow them to fetch double basic off these and cast this Subtlety.
See a Leyline Binding and a blue card in Brian's hand. Not quite sure what that is. But the Elishnorn will not be able to resolve here.
Yeah, oh, the last 2 cards in Brian's hand are the Nexus of Fate brought up before and this Leyline
Right,
Binding.
it's the Nexus. Thank you.
So the binding will be interesting because it can kind of answer whatever we want, even just being able to clean up a Rhino and possibly pick it up later.
All right. Chatter saying you could have taken an additional 3 with the trample if you marked the damage on it during combat as opposed to after. Is Flame
Right.
of Nor an instant?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah, a very, very, very smart call. These are long games for these fine
Yeah.
folks, but every little point does matter, so that's
Yeah,
very
Brian's
great
at
point.
4, so that would put him at 1. Probably won't matter here, but of course, could always be relevant. Resolving our Cascade trigger here. Do the little dance of looking for that 1 card in his deck.
Yeah, the hardest part about Cascade is just the dexterity of literally just having to reveal the cards. Be on the hunt for it. Double Rhino, these boards getting real clogged up, but I always point it out when these players have really interactive back and forth games, Marty, if you're trying to win this round, needs to win this game and a second one against a grindy deck in Brian's Shardless Ring.
Indeed, we already saw a match go to time. If they had had just a couple more
Uh-huh.
turns, they could have taken it home.
And these players are not playing slowly; they're just playing interactively.
Exactly. Yeah. No, neither of these players are going slow by any means. Just gummed up boards here, though.
Uh-huh. And Brian's just trying to sneak damage through. And we see these players both very aware. And the thing is Marty just has so many more bodies in play. We have 3 additional creatures. We might be able to just push them all through in this combat.
Yeah, just going wide. We're going to use the ice to tap down a creature here.
This where you're tapping down the biggest blocker instead of killing one of the smaller ones. Brian doing the math and realizing I need time to play that game number 3. That goes over to Marty, and I imagine his players are going to shuffle up very quickly.
Yeah, we'll see if they sideboard it all here on the play versus the draw. Most likely not, but we'll see here. Brian will be on the play for our game 3, and here comes the flex slot teammate to cheer Marty on. Don't know which one it is. We have several in the building tonight, including one in the booth.
Yeah, what can I say? I mean, that's got to be George Rhino, as Adam's long gone by this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see this quick shuffle. We're gonna try to get to this game as soon as we can. Oh yeah. Oh, rapid fire.
Yeah, I wonder why Marty's switching to Rhinos because I know he was on Scam for the Modern RCQ season.
I think this is might just be the best deck.
Yeah.
And Marty's a kind of a best decker, if you will. That's kind of the point
It's
of being
fun.
on Scam when that was the time.
Yeah.
And
nothing wrong with that at all.
Rhinos just can steal wins. Just if you just go on turn 1, like dead, the thing my opponent has, turn 2, ice their land, untap, cascade, get 2 Rhinos, hold up a force. It's like the game could just end, and that's a very normal draw from a Rhinos player.
Oh boy, Marty's got a gemstone out here.
A little luck counter in game number 3, much needed here.
Wow.
So, you know, we have to discard a card there to get this luck counter, but now Marty has stolen the play from Brian. You're down a card, but you're up on mana. This allows us to suspend this Crashing Footfalls.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah. The one thing, you know, Living End players don't ever suspend their Cascade spell. Crashing Footfalls players suspend it all the time. Just allowing you to have pressure waiting. This is coming just down the line, so we're going to interact back and forth. And then when you've run me out of resources, this is going to come off suspend and make my Rhinos.
Why is that? Why don't Living End players ever suspend their Living End? Does it have more time counters than Crashing Footfalls?
I believe it has 3, but it costs 2 BB to...
Oh, it's not free to
no.
It's much more to suspend,
Footfalls
rather.
just casts the 1.
Yeah.
So they clearly designed this card in mind that it's a card that does actually just come off being in suspend. Living End is kind of there to be like a very, very late game card. So even if you could find double black mana in your teamer deck, you then have to wait tons of turns and use your 4 mana on it.
Indeed, well said. We'll go to Marty's second turn here
just
because
a
of the gemstone makes
Just
the math a little awkward.
A little lucky.
Yeah, and we'll
here's
see
what I'm
that turn
saying.
2 play that you mentioned earlier, icing down one of Brian's lands.
And the best part about the ice is the ice just also draws a card. So you can see they're kind of shortcutting real quick here, but you can see Brian's land is still tapped. So most, like you said, pass turn, upkeep, ice. They're trying to move through as fast as they can. And a part of this is, you know, Brian meant to be an interactive strategy, could be trying to hold up some sort of interaction or counter fight back. Even a card like a Tidebinder. Now Brian doesn't have access to 3 mana, and the Cascade trigger might just be free for takeoff.
And what's the color on that Triumph there too? Does he have blue mana up?
Does Brian? Yes, because we're holding up the green, black, blue Triumph.
Okay, thank you.
As we see, you know, Marty maybe with a very awkward looking mana base, but one that's going to still function quite well for them, as this Wood of Foothills can kind of fix all of our problems, and the Gemstone being a 5-color land really just fills in the blank.
Ooh, full Flame of Anor here, 3 mana, just the 1 mode. We're gonna pick draw 2. I think I saw a Violent Outburst there as one of them.
And we have to remember that Footfalls is just waiting on suspend. The pressure is coming, whether they're ready for it or not.
Slowly but surely, one more time counter left there.
Which means, right, we're going to have this interaction. Brian might be trying to use their cards in their hand to fight back against this, but Marty has their cards just the same.
Yeah, there's no cascade trigger here to counter or stifle rather with the Tishana's Tidebinder. So when this Crushing Footfall comes off of suspend, we're gonna need a counter proper for it, correct?
I think so. Brian and I talked about this. There is a way that you can interact with suspend favorably with Tidebinder. I believe the removing of the counter is a trigger.
So you can keep it on the return longer?
You can make it float in limbo forever.
Ooh.
When the last counter removes itself, it goes, trigger, I'd like to cast this. And I believe that you can tag.
Oh.
And then make it just float forever in exile.
Because you can't re-trigger it because there's no more time counters to remove.
And I know Brian is very aware of this, so he might be moments away from finding out.
He's got to respond to this one first.
Yeah, we'll start with this one. This is the easy one. We know this is a guaranteed trigger. We're going to counter that one. But Subtlety's going to fight back.
Pitch Alluring revealed here. Might have more responses, though.
Yeah.
Brian's going to fetch with all this stuff still on the stack here.
And the leftovers in Marty's hand is another copy of Subtlety.
And I saw a second Tidebinder in Brian's hand. He doesn't have the mana to cast it here. We'll find a plane?
I wonder if we have a dispute.
It's got to be an island he fetched, right? That can't be a plains.
It could be a plains. Could be trying to
Leyline
binding?
All right, so we're just going to fetch.
Oh, because we want to make sure the Tidebinder is on the bottom, so we're fetching first.
I see. And then we'll resolve the cascade trigger here.
I wonder what they're going to find. There it is. Footfalls. Getting a beautiful full art version in Murders at Karlov Manor.
Ooh, yes. The special guest slot, correct?
The special guest. I'm very excited. What a cool way for them to get like a couple of goodies into a set. And I'm glad they're starting with the Rhinos.
Yeah.
Oh, if they do Rhinos and Living End, oh, that'd be nice.
I think the full... No, Ravnica Remaster has fully been spoiled.
Yeah.
Still one more set to go before our next standard set.
But if they make a full art Living End, they make my dreams come true.
And here's that Leyline binding we were looking for. Hit a Rhino, disappears into the ether.
But if Brian has Teferi Time Revelers in their deck, they can pick up this binding and answer another token.
Get
while
some
also
more
being
value.
Just an incredible card against Rhinos.
Yeah, really hot. Yeah, has that funky little bit of text at the top of the card that says...
Sorcery speed.
Says you cannot cascade, sir.
Yeah, the long and short of it is you must do things at sorcery speed. Sorcery speed says when a card is not currently on the stack. Cascade makes you put a card and then another card. Well, it says, no, I can't. There's another card on the stack already. And you get nothing.
No shenanigans here.
And here's those Rhinos that had been on suspend just waiting. And most likely this turn 1 suspended Footfalls is probably going to design determine a lot of the patterning of this game.
Only got 2 Rhino tokens there, so we'll see.
And a Suicune.
Yeah. Dig it. I feel like a lot of players use Pokemon.
Love using Pokemon as tokens.
Cards as tokens.
I'm always torn between using Pokemon and using the exact token. Like, I go back and forth because I feel so bad if I'm a Rhinos player and I'm using Rhyhorns and my opponent forgets they have Trample.
I was about to say, I know Brickman just asked me for some Rhyhorns the other week. Marty's using, a water type here for his Rhino?
Suicune's not quite there, but I think most people, it's just cool. Cool usually gets a pass as well.
Style points.
Yeah, style points.
We do have lethal represented on the board here. Brian just at 10, and Marty's got 12 points of damage on the board.
Even 14 if we want with that Mutavault.
Oh, hiding there in the background. So yeah, even if we get rid of one Rhino, we are still dead.
And we have Subtlety in hand. There's another flashed 3 power in the air.
Brian put in his full hand down on the table so
just
we could
don't want to look at this.
To rest and think for a second.
Yeah, the thing with the Rhinos deck is it applies a lot of pressure in a very small package, right? Just any of these Cascade cards or your spell on suspend just creates so much pressure.
All right, lots to think here. Very careful with his
Shardless.
mana and spells.
And I think Brian usually can adjust their sideboard to best fit what Shardless hits here. I imagine it might be something like Drannith Magistrate to give us an anti-card for these Cascade matchups. and it might just kind of be a blocker, but looks like it's still Renin 6. And I saw us pass it to Fairy, so they're in the deck.
With that on the stack,
Oh, perfect use for the
subtlety hits
subtlety.
Planeswalker spells as well.
And that's just the game. So much pressure and answer what Brian has going on. And we will scoop it on up. The Rhinos deck, very popular today, taking it down 2-1.
Indeed. Marty will be the winner of our backup match there. Some good matches overall in our round 3. Before we head into a break, though, let's remind you to head on over to our Discord. We got lots of great discussion there. We got trading channels, deck list channels, format channels, all good stuff to discuss. Magic with all of your friends. Meet up to play some Commander. All sorts of good stuff.
I'm a big fan of the emotes in there.
Yeah, we've got some special emotes in there as well. So hop on over, check out that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner. With that being said, though, that wraps up our round 3 coverage. We'll be back with round 4 in just a moment. Stay tuned.
See y'all soon.
Welcome back, folks, to our final match of the night. Rhinos has been the name of the game today, and he's back again. Bill rocking Rhinos, and our Jun Sagavan deck from earlier as well. Isaac in the other seat.
It's the old versus the new. Jund, a classic. Removing cards and taking names. Rhinos, the new, just like hot tempo deck, and just really just exploding on the scene here at NRG. Finally been waiting so long for Rhinos to make a return, and tonight is the night.
Yeah, we'll see who can get it done here. Bill took a draw in one of his earlier rounds, but still top table here versus Isaac's undefeated deck. Usually he plays, I think in the past he's played like a 4-color sort of deck. I prefer this deck more.
I mean, Jun's cool. There's something
Jun's
about the vibe.
super cool. What about Tarmogoyf? Tarmogoyf's the coolest card.
I just bought my Future Scythe Goyf, so I'm not disagreeing with you.
Much cheaper than they used to be.
Yeah. And basically that's the only way to get like a fancy version. You know, the original printing Future Sight frame looks like something fancy.
All right, Bill starts off here with a fetch, passing it back to Isaac. Chat, who are you rooting for here? Old or new? Boomer or Zoomer? I guess it's funny because I feel like not to call Bill like too older. I mean, Isaac is younger, so we'll respectfully call Bill the Boomer here, rocking the Zoomer deck, and Isaac the Zoomer, rocking the Boomer deck.
I mean, just calling it like it is. I see your point. And a catcher or Triumph, right? You want to talk about the new coming into the format at large. Jund did not have access to a Triumph for a long time and was still out there just Jundin. And now they really have access, both them being able to set up early mana here, and as we off to the races for all future turns.
Cool backers rooting for Boomer.
Much appreciate. I mean,
thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit that follow button. We're live every Wednesday at 6:30 with fantastic modern coverage. We're starting our league next week. Come and play or come and watch.
Yeah, I think the competition, the quality of deck, the quality of players, and the quantity of player all hopefully start going up starting next week.
I mean, the quality of player already so high.
Oh, yeah.
We're very lucky here at NRG. We get a lot of great people playing Magic in our store.
It's good testing if you're looking to get ready for big events.
It's good gaming, lots of fun, welcoming people to play against as well. I got my start here at NRG. This is my LGS. I played here before I worked here. And it was because of the lovely welcoming community that I continued to stay here.
And now to watch these players murder each other.
And now the game.
All right, like I said, Bill just going to be spending a lot of time here. Looks like setting up their mana. We saw this last round. We have this Crashing Footfalls on suspend. Most likely going to define a lot of this game, as Isaac's going to look to trade off resources for a while, and this might sneak up on them.
Just fetch your basic, though. Another Crashing Footfall suspended. We saw one suspended last game, too. I think we had 3 rounds of Rhinos.
Oh, yeah.
Tonight.
Bill earlier today, then we had Marty, and now it's back again.
After so many weeks of not seeing any Rhinos players at all.
Our Scam player moved to it. Our Murktide player moved to it, and here we are.
What's a group of Rhinos called?
Heard? Crashed. Yeah, Crashing Footfalls. That's the name of the card. It's the name of the card.
Wait, that's why it's called
That's why it's called.
That's great.
Got a Mark Rosewater seal of approval putting the pun on it, right?
Flavor win. Not a lot out of Isaac in his earlier turns here, just setting up some mana. Bill, of course, got this Crashing Footfalls. We'll see a 3-mana spell here. It's a classic. Shardless Agent will get another Footfalls on the way.
And I think kind of deceptively saying Isaac doesn't have anything It looks like we at minimum have the Seek the Beast side of Questing Druid,
Mm-hmm.
allowing us to kind of pseudo draw two, or just holding up removal at large might be cashing in like a Fatal Push or something just to clean up some of these Rhinos.
Bill giving Isaac a chance there to see what he flipped over before he puts it on the bottom.
Because Isaac might be floating cards like Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt in their main deck.
Mm-hmm.
Not very good against Rhinos. So we might just be looking to cash in if need be and starting with Seeking the Beast.
We're going to exile a Molten Collapse and a Ragavan.
That Ragavan looks so bad. Like,
it does. It really does.
and the collapse. We're going to one for half if we try to take out a Rhino with this Molten Collapse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we put the Questing Druid in play, it's going to take 4 spells from now for it to be able to even try to block profitably against a Rhino. This is a deck that's going to upgrade heavily post board, and it's just going to try to scrape it together in game 1 here for Jund Saga.
Yeah, I think in the stock list we saw there was only one Fatal Push in the list.
Oh, well, yeah, alongside a plethora of bolts, none of which are going to be impressive here.
Mm-mm.
At
You
least
do not
the
want
push.
a 2-for-1 a Rhino. That seems rough.
Yeah.
Molten Collapse takes most of your mana as well and only scoops up one Rhino, but Isaac will do that here.
Yeah, we kind of
and then-
have to.
And then cast the other spell he got, keeping his hand full.
We have an Unholy Heat in hand, but we have 2 card types in the bin right now. Might be
Mhm.
incentivized to trade off this Ragavan just to try to start scraping our way towards Delirium.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other creatures that you can put in the bin unless you are milling something somehow.
And
Or just
Yep.
letting it die to a removal spell.
yeah, there's part 1, but we get in for 6 points of damage, Isaac down to 10. It does not take long for this Rhino's deck to try to take you out.
No, and even if he manages to stabilize here, there's another Crashing Footfalls on the way as well, just 2 turns away from resolving too.
Now you're starting to feel what I'm talking about, where the one suspended on turn 1, turn 2 can really define the later turns of the game.
Mm-hmm. Spell from Isaac here is...
The Goyf.
Oh, it's Tarmogoyf. Oh
That's-
gosh, what the heck?
That's Tarmogoyf right there.
I can't... Which Tarmogoyf is that?
That's one of the Masters printing arts, but
Oh, okay.
we're going to check real quick on the
Oh, it's TSR. Oh, there's a bunch of different printings of Tarmogoyf. It's hard to remember them.
So I see Bill here using Flame Menorah to deal 5 damage to this Goyf. I think Isaac was trying to figure out if there was any way to get another card type in the bin to nullify that, but we did the count and it's down for it. And now Isaac holding up once again another Seek the Beast or an Orcish Bowmaster, which we can kind of
Gosh, these
ambush
creatures
just a little.
do not stack up well if the Rhino players gets going fast enough. They're like the Yawgmoth player. These are just little guys.
Right. And it's like, oh, okay,
get
you can
bigger
draw 2 cards
eventually.
here. It's Renin 6 and Pyrite Spellbomb. These are not answers to a 4/4.
No, they're not. Oh goodness, and
And a
another
Ragavan in the
Ragavan.
hand. And our Unholy Heat, not quite there yet. We're going to need to use this artifact and cycle it through to get the full power on Holy Heat to answer 1/2 of a Footfalls, and one's already on the way next turn.
We'll bring Questing Druid out from the adventure. Another blocker there. The Unholy Heat does grow the Druid a bit, which would let you trade. Down to 3 now with the fetch.
Just the onslaught, the crash of these Rhinos really just applies so much pressure so quickly.
They're thundering.
The Jund deck looks to grind, and there is not any time for that here.
Rhinos was putting too much pressure on him. We'll let that Ren 6 fall away. Play out the Spell Bomb. All right.
And now this Unholy Heat, fully powered up now, be able to take out one of those Rhinos.
Charlotte's Agent is just a 2/2, so not quite lethal yet. These Rhinos are not hasty. Gonna rewind a bit here. Gonna Pyrite away the Charlotte's Agent as well. But we got 2 more Rhinos to
Right.
deal with.
They're here now. And Isaac's hand of Bowmaster Ragavan, not what I want against these imposing 4/4s. With trample. So even if you try to put these out there, they're just going to hit right on over.
And another. Why not? Why not another? Oh,
And
you had first Rhinos. Oh, you had second Rhinos. Have a third Rhinos.
right. And the only like saving grace for Isaac, this means there's none left in the deck, just one waiting on suspend. But you have to get through these ones first. Oh yeah, we're gonna be revealing for a while.
I'm digging for a last copy of this card.
Yep, yep, we're on our way. There we go. That's the speed I'm looking for. Flip, 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 flip. Keep going. Loving it. You're gonna get there. Maybe just a few more. There it is. Yeah, take a peek at all of those. I see get a good peek at a lot of the main deck. Because most likely looking to concede pretty soon here. So just getting as much of a peek at what cards are in the deck.
Lovely arcade post Rhino tokens come down on the field there for Bill. He's got a wide board now.
You're right.
Isaac does not have widespread removal. No board wipes at all. Very spot removal.
Well, we drew this
heavy.
Saga, and none of our cards do anything. And yeah, Isaac gained that piece of information, and away we go. Game number 1 being taken down by Bill and Rhinos.
All right, Isaac will be on the playing game too. Let's take a look at their sideboarding options here. We've grabbed some deck list off of MTG Goldfish. And we'll see what options they have available to them. Here's a Rhinos list. They've got Endurances, Magus of the Moon, Tishana's Tidebinder, Brotherhood End, Flame of Anor, Mystical Dispute, Force of Vigors, and some Blood Moons. What you liking here, Dom?
I guess Flame of Anor can be pretty helpful, knowing that our opponent seems to be piecing together kind of the artifact pieces of stuff, and it's just a good piece allowing us to gain some sort of value. Same thing with Tishana's Tidebinder. I think that happens a lot when players are at top tables. So you kind of just see who's next to you and what they're playing. So if you saw that your opponent is on this overall saga plan, bringing in your remaining Tidebinders can help you fully shut down sagas or hit really important parts of the card overall, while still just being an effective 3/2 flash creature. Outside of that, I'm not too excited by most stuff. Endurance, you might think you may want to fight back against your opponent's Goyfs, but your graveyard counts just the same.
The Force of Vigors, how do you feel? Because you do know that it's a saga deck, so do you care about those things that he's fetching with them? Enough to board him in?
It's hard because this Jund deck's getting a lot of cards that you do not care about. Like,
yeah,
if you
like
find
Pithy
Pyrite
Needle,
Spill, yeah,
Shadow
Pithy,
Spear.
yeah,
I don't know.
none of those cards mean anything when I have my 4/4 Tramplers. So maybe just to try to scrape out a 2-for-1. The same thought goes into like the moon effects. Is like, you know that it can shut down a lot of what's going on, but a Magus is really fragile, and a Blood Moon might just not be enough if they fetch a basic or two. So it might be one of those, just a little flavor to taste, get a piece here, a piece there. But a lot of your main deck was already set up really well to fight against this deck.
All right, let's take a quick look at a Jund Sagavan list as well.
Yeah, when you're presenting me with Haywire Might, Mishra's Research Desk, some Spell Bombs, and a Shadow Spear, I'm not scared of these. And I look on the board and I see Stone of Eric and maybe a Soul Guide Lantern. At most, I might be worried of some Soul Guides just picking apart my graveyard. But what does that do? Nothing. What does this Pithy Needle do? Nothing. Stone of Eric doesn't matter here. And for further extent, I don't know if any of these cards matter outside of this Engineer Explosives.
I was about to say, that one seems pretty good.
The card for cleaning up Rhinos, but it's hard when you've got a full sideboard and game 1 didn't feel close and you just have a couple of tools that you're reaching for.
Like I said, lots of spot removal in this deck. Rhinos goes wide, though. Every single time a Crashing Footfall resolves, you have 2 threats to deal with.
Yes.
And each is a threat on their own. They got beefy stats on them.
And if it's with a shard list, that's kind of 2.5 threats to deal with.
Exactly.
It only gets harder, and Jund doesn't have that many tools to make it better, but oh my goodness. And if they put Engineer Explosives and they try to sacrifice it, you could counter that with a Tidebinder.
All right.
There's just so... that card helps so much for this deck at large, and it's probably going to help a lot in this matchup too.
All right, well, let's see how Isaac fares in this game two here. He will be on the play as players are shuffling up here. I'm going to take a quick look at what else he faced tonight. He played against Hammer in round 1.
That makes sense. A lot of 1-for-1, really doing a lot of hard lifting there.
He played against Yawgmoth in round 2. That's the one we saw.
Yeah, we saw that, just picking them apart in that game.
And then he played against Eric in round 3, so we don't know.
On the Secrets.
Yeah, we don't know what Eric was playing.
What I do know is this matchup didn't feel good, and these Ragavans didn't feel good, but they're still here. Isaac's on the play, understanding that's a lot of the way to try to steal a game when you are on the play.
Let's rip some crashing footfalls off the top. Come
This is
on.
not going to quite do what you want.
We'll just rip him out of his deck.
Right. Just give a little few less to Bill.
Yeah.
And the question will be is, does Bill have that Dead Gone in their deck to answer back against these Ragavans, or do we feel like those were the cards that we were trimming on when we were doing our sideboarding?
We'll see here in a second. I don't know. Do you get a glimpse at his opening hand at all?
Nada. But it looks like this Steam Vents is untapped, so I feel like we're either cycling a Lorien or this Ragavan is not long for this world. Quick shock.
Indeed, will shock here.
Oh, yep, there it is. Dead. 2 damage to that Ragavan. I love these split cards when it's just like one half of them. Like, this is just called dead.
How about a second Ragavan? Dashing in this time. We'll see what he hits off the top here.
Yep. Breeding pool.
Just a land.
Now, a very important thing here. The Rhino's mana base is very thin on fetch lands, find Triumph Shocks. Ripping Breeding Pool out is a big deal.
Interesting. This Thoughtseize will come down here. We'll get a peek at his hand. We'll take another Dead Gone out there.
Double Lorien, double Tidebinder.
And a land. So we kept a 1-land hand
but
with a bunch of cyclers.
We have a 2-land
and
hand
a
with
Misty,
these 2
excuse me.
cyclers. But no Rhinos to be seen just yet. But remember, our deck is full of 8 ways to cascade, so a lot of ways to find them.
For sure. Go to Isaac's turn here. He's got a Renin 6 he could play. The Ragavan he could dash again. He will opt to do that. He used the treasure that he gained last turn for the Thoughtseize, so he'll get a fresh one now. And I'll hit a card off the top of Bill's deck there.
Yeah, usually when, you see a Ragavan hit lands, it's mostly inconsequential. But in decks like this running so thin on what shock lands they can find and how to put stuff together, it can definitely matter just enough there.
Getting a quick check on life totals there.
Players more used to keeping track on their pads as opposed to the life totals. We're keeping up. They're at the 15 to 13 now. Isaac had it the whole time, just not quite on the screen to keep up with us, but we got it all fixed easy peasy.
That would be a fantastic inclusion to the companion app if they had history on your life totals. Gosh, what a game changer that would be.
Instead, we have this this Renin 6, which is just going to allow Isaac to develop their mana. Not the most impactful, but just allowing us to have something going on. As Bill's
in the deck a little bit at least.
As Bill uses their fetch land alongside this Lorien to get their second land and find their third for next turn. Be all set up.
Yep. A little bit of a slower start here for the Rhinos player.
And I can see right now, Bill, I think, is trying to find their breeding pool.
Oh, no. What do you grab instead? There's got to be a Triumph in there. There you go.
But then the Lorien is forced to find your island because your Steam Vents is already out here. So the fetch finds Ketria and this finds island. And I do believe we checked what we had in play real quick. I think we were on the hunt for that breeding pool. Little things. Ragavan is usually the bane of many a problem. And that's just another one that it does is sometimes it just strips away. Like I said, sometimes when you're playing against these decks that run really thin, hitting a land could be a big deal. And Bill playing with their hand up, so you see all those Tidebinders and Loriens in the bottom corner. Those are the cards known to both players, so Bill sees no need to keep it secret. Keeping them face up as you see Isaac's doing the same with the cards in their hand.
I'd like to see Isaac tick this Renin 6 or no, he has nothing to shoot it with. Maybe to goad out the Tashanas.
Yeah, but the card doesn't really matter too much. And now
can't just flash it out and block though.
Yeah, that's what I think might be happening here. But Isaac is offering it up to Bill, so Bill, it's giving you kind of alarm of like, well, why are you offering this to me? What's your follow-up? What should I actually be worried about?
He will take the bait here, and Isaac will respond.
There must be like a Terminator or something that we baited this out, and then we're gonna kill it to still get in for damage with the Ragavan.
And now we have a fetch in our graveyard to Ren. Shock in a Blood Crypt here.
And terminate. Take it out.
It will be a terminate.
and hit a
Ooh.
Deadgon, which is an answer to Ragavan, and strip that away by the Ragavan. Isaac, not a lot of cards in hand, but Ragavan is going to keep poking away every turn. But next
Mhm.
turn, Bill has a Tidebinder. We could rinse and repeat and see the same turn all over again.
Waiting to see a Cascade spell here for Bill. I think that really get him out of the hot water he's in currently.
Yeah, especially if we can find a Shardless. Just 3 bodies on the table would be
Mm.
really hard for Isaac to deal with here. But they're going to take every opportunity to see Bill stumbling, knowing that
Ooh.
every turn they don't have that is more turns that Isaac can set up. And keep getting in with this Ragavan. Tempt this Tidebinder. Isaac has no problem, willing to take this trade. Have to get the Tidebinders out anyways. Trade my 2 mana for your 3.
Mhm.
And
Ooh.
there's a Saga.
We'll start on that train. We'll get a couple constructs out of that at the least. Maybe a Shadow Spear.
Yeah, it might be one of those grindy games where the constructs or put a spear on this Tarmogoyf.
Let's do a count.
Instant sorcery land. Creature.
Creature.
Sounds like a 4. And Bill really on the hunt for Cascade Spell. Does not
Oh,
find it.
wow.
Packs it in there. Just a hand of a lot of the pieces trying to interact, but them
Mhm.
just not quite getting there. This Goyf being huge alongside what we're going to get out of that Saga overall. Be too much to deal with.
Do you think it was a good keep by Bill that just didn't end up rewarding him, or he should have mulliganed? It was a little too slow there.
So overall, the things we had were Lorien, Binder, Land, and then I think we dead gone to Ragavan.
Mhm.
Like I said, the part of the strength of the Rhinos deck is you have 8 draws that are lights out, right? Your combination of your Shardless and your Violent Outburst just equaling so much value for you.
8 draws isn't a lot, though.
8 draws out of my 53 cards in deck. Overall, I'll take 3 cards out. So out of the first 50 remaining 8 cards, it's not a lot.
It's not great. You do have the Lorians that
Yeah.
thin
And I
minimally in the
felt like this
fetches.
matchup should be really good for Rhinos.
Mhm.
That maybe it is kind of what you were saying, that the difference between a good 7 and a great 6, maybe it was worth tossing it on back.
Yeah, I think it was a medium keep at best.
Okay. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a safe keep for sure.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, right?
All right, yeah. Especially when we saw how explosive that game one is. If you have a Crashing Footfalls
Yes.
or a Cascade spell in your starting 7, that's really just gravy there. That's good stuff. We'll go to game 3 here, though, in our final match of the night. I want to thank you all for joining us and being here with us for our first stream of the new year. If you haven't already, hit that follow button. We're live every Wednesday at 6:30 with fantastic modern coverage. And make sure to tune in this weekend for the NRG Championship event. $25,000, 16 players, the winner of which goes to the Pro Tour next month in our hometown of Chicago. Be there or be square, 9 o'clock a.m. Head over there now and drop a follow in case you don't remember to show up on time and get hit with that notification when we go live. I'll be there.
It's gonna be such a great way to spend my weekend, just like having all entertainment accounted for.
Absolutely. We got a banging lineup for our commentary duos as well, so tune in for that. And some fantastic modern gameplay.
Just high level Magic
Modern,
top to bottom.
Pioneer, and Standard.
From players who are good.
Insane.
They earned it. They got their,
A quarter of our field is already qualified for the Pro Tour.
Yeah, I think it's more than that. I think it's like almost half.
Is it? I couldn't remember. It's at least a quarter.
Yeah,
I know there's 4 for
unbelievable.
sure. A few of them qualified at the most recent regional championship.
Yeah.
Daniel Weiser, of course, won it.
Yeah,
one of
and
our
we'll be
championship
playing at
players.
champs.
Yeah,
My
so he'll be
goodness.
there. I think number 15 on the ELO project worldwide. Insane. Great stats on that guy. Great magic.
Coming at you this Saturday. just a few sleeps away.
Indeed. Who in chat, guys? Who are you rooting for? Who's your horse? Who do you think's gonna take it all? There's a lot of Magic to be played. A lot of variables to account for, of course, across 3 formats. Some people haven't played a lick of it in paper yet.
Right.
So we'll see how they do that. Deck lists are due tonight, so they're getting in some final practice. We know Eric, uh, one of our team trios qualifiers,
Mm-hmm.
is here in the building tonight, rocking something.
Getting that last minute practice in as these players are off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
Bill cycling away a Lorian. Isaac still leaning on these Ragavans, even in the
Very
face of
interesting.
a deck very well prepared to fight back against them.
Indeed. He knows that it's a creature-based deck, but they usually don't get them out turn one. So he's got a Ragavan in his opening hand, and we'll be able to connect here unless it gets deaded.
I wonder if a part of this is not having a lot of good sideboard cards to bring in, that we might as well leave the Ragavans, right? We have to get Fatal Push and Bolt, or all the bolts out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very hard to get good bolt targets, and Ragavans might just be here because we didn't have anything better to do, which
It's like
sounds
the
weird.
12th worst card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that Ragavan is a card that's like not so great, but that is sometimes the way that it feels in this matchup.
Indeed. We'll see if it connects here. Go to combat. And it will not. It will get iced
Oof.
this time.
He's getting fired.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes.
One to the Ragavan, one to Isaac, just to get a little bit of the rub-ins there. So you see an Inquisition, Flame of Anor, Tidebinder, or Footfalls proper if you're looking to really build up the late game.
Couple of good picks here. I think you.
Yeah, it's
All
hard because the Tidebinder is the most like proactive play, but the Flame is a way for Bill to draw 2 cards.
Oh, the double seize effect.
And I think we're going to take this Flame and just leave the Footfall because that is a problem for 4 or 5 turns from now.
Yeah, Bill left in top deck mode here. Just got the footfalls he's going to suspend and have 1 card in his hand.
It's a mystery to us all. And Isaac, looks like we drew the Shadow Spear. And it does have an effective nature against Rhinos if you can at least get your 2 constructs and that extra piece. And the Shadow Spear itself is going to be the extra piece in the future. Allowing us to get a 4/4 with +1/+1. That's a 5/5, and that's the magic number for blocking Rhinos.
Indeed. Good setup turn for Isaac there. Played an Urza Saga as land for turn, grabbed one out of the graveyard with his casted Renin 6.
And it looks like we have a Questing Druid in hand for Isaac to follow up after the fact for all this, as Bill cycles away another Lorien revealed.
Yeah, this Questing Druid
we
can
cannot
be
find
good.
Stomping Ground with Lorien revealed.
Oh, last game of Magic of the night.
Hey,
Lots
long
of decisions
days,
to
long
be made.
Magic, right?
All right, we'll go and correct that real quick.
All right, a quick and easy
grab
one.
Grab the breeding pool
Right.
that you couldn't grab last game.
We're on the hunt. We know who it is. Look who it is. There's that breeding pool.
As I was saying, the Questing Druid can be good. It just needs some time to take off.
And this game is going to be one where I think Isaac's going to have that time. We might seek the beast and then play it out just to get kind of the 3-for-1 out of that card all by itself.
Uptick the Ren again here. Just uptick the Urza Saga as well, leaving all this mana open. Seek the beast at the ready.
And I think it might be 2 Questing Druids in hand. We might be going very deep into our deck this turn. Using our fetch land, mostly going to hunt for a red source that might confirm that it's a double beast. And that swamp was quickly decided against for the forest, so I'm still incorrect on the double beast.
I was like, Stomping Ground. No? Okay. Blood Grip? No?
Nope.
All
Forest,
right.
obviously.
We'll just... make a construct instead. We won't seek the beast.
Yeah. Get the most value possible out of this construct. Because like I said, it will search up a 4th artifact, and then you can equip with Shadow Spear, and you have a 5/5.
Make another one here. Build your board.
And if we can get a mana either out of our hand or using this Renin 6 here, we can equip this Shadow Spear this turn and attack for 5 with lifelink this turn.
Yeah, Isaac's at 11, which is nothing to sneeze at, but the Shadow Spear will stabilize him very quickly
Yeah,
here.
I'd feel a lot better at 16.
I feel like Bill's just really feeling the pain of this double Thoughtseize.
I mean, we get it from Griefs, but sometimes you can just put Thoughtseize plus Inquisition together and see it just the same.
Taking a look at the sideboard there. Still 2 turns away from this Crashing Footfalls hitting
Feels
the
like
field.
eternity against this board state.
And these constructs might grow to not even care about that.
Might not even care. But if we can draw Flame of Anor, it having the Destroy Artifact mode could come up big and
In
flash in this
response
Endurance to the
to,
Brennan 6. So we won't have access to getting that land, and now we might be short on equipping the Shadow Spear this turn.
he said, haha, got you.
We have a Bloodstained
We've
Mire in hand. We
Ah,
tried, we tried, we tried. And now,
endurance is kind of a blocker. Its stats aren't too impressive here. These contracts
mhm.
are already a 4/4.
Yeah, if we equip the Shadow Spear, we got a 5/5 trample lifelink, and it's going to barrel right over this Endurance. Bill is used to being the one with the 4/4 tramplers, but it's Isaac's turn.
Indeed. And there goes the Shadow Spear under one of the Rhinos. Excuse me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, on the construct that can attack this turn, then we're rumbling in, basically swapping the life totals.
Go to 15 to 11 here in favor of Isaac. Bill, not much to do in his turn, but tick down a crashing footfalls and sit back.
And a pass back.
He does have some instant speed interaction. He's got the ability to cast a violent outburst here. He does have
Isaac's
fire
going
and
to force
ice.
it with this Inquisition.
Oh,
Show me what you got. It's a
it's
Misty.
land.
That's game, I think. We might just, if we use this Renin 6 and deal up pointed damage, we have a 4/4 and a 5/5. That's 9, 10, or all pointed damage short. And obviously the
Unholy
Endurance really
Heats.
gets in the way, but we could heat that if we really wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, but our whole graveyard just got gone because of the Endurance, so not
Mhm.
quite. But a lot of pressure being applied here. Not blocking with this Endurance, not even a little.
Could seek the beast on our main step here just to see what we hit. We'll pop the spell bomb instead.
Yep, exile the graveyard, draw a card. Just dig a little deeper, drop it on the floor.
Maybe not instead, but maybe first. Who knows? Who knows? We
What-
draw a card off the
Yep,
pop, right?
yeah, we already did. It's when we threw on the ground. It looks to be this Thoughtseize that we don't need to cast because we know that hand's empty. Isaac debating what to use our mana on. Crack that fetch.
Bill waiting for these Rhinos to hit the field here. Please. Please give me some game pieces to stave off this life.
And here they
This
come.
life loss.
This is a very important top deck. We need to answer these constructs so we can fight back with our Rhinos.
It's something. It's something. Body language tells me it's not a land. It's got some words on it.
This is one Urza Saga doing the work of a Crashing Footfalls, right? Just currently we have a 4/4 and a 3/3, but this one has lifelink due to the Shadow Spear.
We're gonna go to combat, get rid of the possibility of a Ren alt.
Yeah, that's fair. And now seek the beast.
See what Isaac hits here off the top. It's gonna be a land and another Ren in 6.
I'm honestly just glad I don't have to draw those. I'm gonna draw whatever the third card is now instead. It's an unholy heat.
We're not delirious quite yet.
But we're gonna rumble through their creatures, or just this ran off the top. We poke from the first one, poke from the second, and that's the 2 damage
there you
to
go.
take Bill down. Jund Saga taking it down.
Undefeated. Wow. Great work there from Isaac. Bill put up a great showing as well. Lots of Rhinos in the building tonight. Had great results. John Sagavan will be your deck of the night, though. Lots of good stuff there. We thought Rhinos had a pretty good matchup. Wasn't quite able to do it, though, in the face of some heavy-duty constructs.
Yeah, the Urza Saga just fought back just as big as the Crashing Footfalls.
And that will be our final match of the night. Folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure to provide commentary for you this evening. Before we go, though, make sure to hit that follow button. We're going to run through a quick couple of ads. If you want to buy any of the Magic cards that you saw tonight, head on over to nerdragegaming.com. We have thousands of cards in our inventory. Let's give them a home. Come buy them. Give us your money. We'll ship them countrywide, or you can pick them up in store. We also have a wish list and a rewards loyalty program, so check those out, nerdragegaming.com. If you're looking to play games in our store, we have 5 different games that we support now. Magic, Pokemon, Digimon, One Piece, and Lorcana. We have a Lorcana 1K later this month. We have a OPO5 case tourney. We have an EXO5 case tourney. Come show up for all these fantastic events, or any of our weekly locals as well. Check them out there. or head on over to our Discord. We can discuss deck lists with you. You can meet up for some commander games, talk about the meta, all sorts of good stuff there. Check out that QR code. With that being said, though, that'll wrap up our coverage of tonight. Dom, it was a pleasure as always.
Thank you for having me.
Chat, thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
Toodaloo.